A few days after we moved into our new house, the doorbell rang loudly. I opened the door, and it swung open quickly. "Why haven't you invited us over after moving into your new house?" My mother-in-law was standing there. Behind her, my husband Daniel was pushing me inside. I was surprised, but more so because my mother-in-law walked right in without asking. "It's a nice house with a garden." "Surprising, since you're not great at keeping things tidy, but I guess you've done okay." "Where's my room?" "This one gets a lot of sunlight." I had to hold back a laugh at how cheerful and carefree she was. I thought, we're not that close. "You don't get a room here, asterisk." "What? You can't say things like that to family. If you apologize now, I'll forgive you. Otherwise, I'll divorce you." Daniel yelled at me, his face red, and my mother-in-law agreed, smiling nastily. It was ridiculous. I knew it was just an empty threat. I sighed and decided to confront them with something. When they saw it, both froze. "You can't be serious. You can't divorce me. I'm already single. My name is Avery. I've been married for 5 years to Daniel, who I met when I was in college. We married after a strong proposal from him, but our marriage wasn't exactly what I expected. Daniel always put his mom first. Whenever we had to make any decisions, big or small, he'd say, 'I'll ask my mom.' From our honeymoon destination to choosing a dentist, even down to the color of our curtains, he always consulted her and followed her advice. At first, I was concerned, but I ignored it. While our marriage wasn't perfect, it wasn't terrible either. Daniel helped with simple chores like taking out the trash, even if he complained. On weekends, we'd go out or take short trips, and he always celebrated our birthdays and anniversaries with gifts. As long as I didn't rock the boat with his mom, things seemed fine. But after Daniel's father passed away, things started to change. "Hey, Avery, can we talk for a minute?" "Sure, what's up?" Daniel asked, sitting down during dinner. "Can we move in with my mom?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Why now?" "I've been thinking about it ever since my dad passed. Mom's alone now, and I'm worried about her." "I understand, but she can manage on her own. I can still visit her regularly." Daniel was serious. "If you don't want to live with her, I'll divorce you." "You're serious?" "Yes. Let me think about it." After a lot of talking, we decided to move in with my mother-in-law. It wasn't an easy choice, but I was pregnant, and I thought having Daniel around would be better for the baby. I reluctantly agreed, hoping it wouldn't change my relationship with him, but the reality was much harder. Once we moved in, my mother-in-law, Belle, started to make my life miserable. Instead of helping me with my pregnancy, she ignored me and spent all day out with friends. When she came home, she'd criticize my housework. When I was young, I did everything perfectly, even when I was sick, she'd say, pointing out things like water stains or wrinkled laundry. She expected at least 3 side dishes for every meal and made me redo chores, even if I was feeling sick. I couldn't take it anymore and complained to Daniel, but he always sided with his mom. "She might be harsh, but it's your fault for not doing things right. Don't blame her." "But there are days when it's hard to even stand up. I can't do everything perfectly every day." Daniel didn't get it. "My mom did it all when she was pregnant with me, so you should be able to do it too. I need your mom to help out with the chores while I'm sick. This apartment is ours, and she doesn't pay for anything. You're the one who agreed to have her live with us. If you have a problem with it, we can get a divorce." He seemed sure I'd never leave him. I sighed at Daniel's smirk and his dismissive smile. He wasn't like this before we moved in together. Honestly, with his attitude, my mother-in-law's behavior, and my health issues, I was starting to feel overwhelmed in our marriage. One day, as usual, my mother-in-law went out with her friends, leaving me alone in the house to do the chores. I was feeling better than usual, so I took my time. I thought it would be a nice, peaceful day until my mother-in-law came home and screamed, "Belle, what's wrong with you?" "Everything is wrong. My clothes are ruined." "What?" "But I washed them like usual." "These are expensive clothes. They need to be hand-washed. How dare you put them in the washing machine? Look at this mess. These were my favorite clothes. What are you going to do about it?" "But Belle, you didn't tell me they needed hand-washing." "You're supposed to know that without me telling you." My mother-in-law was in a complete frenzy, and just then, Daniel walked in from work. "I'm home. What's going on?" "Welcome, Daniel. Avery ruined my clothes. They were so expensive." My mother-in-law cut me off, running over to Daniel. "This is the one you wear a lot, right?" Daniel looked at me as she handed him the clothes. "Avery, you can't even do laundry properly?" "Well, your mom didn't tell me they had to be hand-washed." It's my fault for not checking, but Belle should have said something too. But if you're going to act like this, I'm divorcing you. I don't want a wife who can't even do basic chores. Get out of here." Then Daniel pulled out a piece of paper from his bag. It was a divorce notice, and it was already filled out with his section completed. He slammed it on the table and smiled at me like he was amused. "You should think about your attitude from now on." Then he grabbed my mother-in-law and started to leave. "Hey, where are you going?" "We're going out to eat." "I don't want my mom eating that cold, disgusting food, and I don't want to eat it either." With that, he left, and my mother-in-law followed behind him, casting a victorious glance back at me. I had been holding back for a long time, thinking it was for the sake of my baby, but when I saw the smug look on my mother-in-law's face, I couldn't take it anymore. I walked into the living room, looked at the divorce papers on the table, and smiled to myself. "You're wrong, Daniel. I'm the one who's going to divorce you." I felt a mix of uncontrollable anger and sadness. Although Daniel always put his mother first, he was never the type to make fun of me. How had things gotten this bad? I just stared at the divorce papers, feeling helpless and unable to do anything about it. Then, my phone vibrated. It was my mom calling. "Hi, Avery, how are you doing?" "Hi, Mom, it's been a while. You haven't contacted us lately, and your father and I are worried about you." "I'm sorry, I've been busy, but I'm okay." When I heard her cheerful voice, something in me broke, and I started to cry. I hadn't realized how much I needed to hear her voice. "Mom." "Avery, what's wrong? What happened?" I could barely speak as the tears started to flow uncontrollably. All the emotions I had been holding in suddenly exploded. I told my mom everything that had happened. After I finished, my mom was even more upset than I was. "It's okay if you get a divorce. Don't worry about raising the baby. Your father and I will support you. We've raised a child before, and look how well you turned out. We'll handle it," she said, trying to make me feel better. "And actually, this might be good timing. Your father and I are planning to build a new house. I called today to tell you about it." I was shocked. I couldn't quite understand what she was saying at first. My mom excitedly described the house they were planning to build, 2 stories with a garden. Even though her tone was playful and full of excitement, she was already talking about the land, floor plans, and costs. Everything was ready to go. They just needed to sign the contract and start construction. "Would you like to live with us, Avery?" Well, if you're getting a divorce, you'll need a place to stay. With the baby coming, it'll be easier for us to help you out here." Her offer felt like pity, and I felt a bit ashamed to depend on my parents at my age, but I was grateful. I had quit my job when I became pregnant and wasn't sure how I'd manage to find a new place to live, especially with the baby on the way. Living alone didn't seem like an option anymore. I accepted her offer and decided to move in with her when the new house was ready, but I still felt guilty, so I decided to put a down payment on the house with the money I had saved before I got pregnant. This way, I could contribute and buy it together with them. Over the next few months, I quietly went through with the divorce without Daniel or my mother-in-law knowing. Once I made the decision, I felt a huge sense of relief. I didn't care what anyone else thought. My mother-in-law became even more critical and selfish, and Daniel continued to use me, taking advantage of me and looking down on me. The small bit of affection I had for him faded completely in those months. He and my mother-in-law stayed together, while I stayed at my parents' house, preparing to leave. I enjoyed discussing new furniture and baby items for the house with my parents, something I hadn't done without stress before. My mother-in-law wasn't there to criticize my taste in furniture or add expensive things to my shopping cart without asking. I forgot how enjoyable stress-free shopping could be. I was excited about my new life. When the new house was finished and it was finally time to move in, I filed for divorce at the city office. Daniel had left the divorce papers on the table that day we argued about my mother-in-law's clothes. After they left, I grabbed the papers and kept them in a safe place, thinking I might need them later. At first, I had hoped we would have a proper discussion about it, since we had been a reasonably successful couple before all of this, but now, I was ready to move forward. I decided to leave without saying anything because of how my mother-in-law mistreated me every day and how Daniel never listened to me. He didn't defend me and kept threatening divorce whenever we argued. A few days before moving out, I filed the divorce papers, and they were officially accepted. Now, I was a free woman, and I felt lighter. I moved into my parents' new house, and for the first time in a long while, I was truly enjoying my life. But one day, an unexpected visitor arrived. "Hey, Avery, you should have invited us over as soon as you got settled. That's right. You're treating us terribly. My mother-in-law and Daniel showed up at the door. I didn't know how they found out, but they barged in without permission. It's a nice house with a garden, which is rare for you. I wonder where my room is, my mother-in-law said as if nothing had happened. I know you're a useless wife who can't even handle housework, but I guess you can be useful once in a while, she added. I forced myself to stifle a laugh. They didn't realize we were already divorced. I'm not your wife anymore, I told them calmly. What? Are you crazy? We're married. You're my wife, Daniel snapped. No, I'm single. I'm a stranger to you now, I replied. Please leave right now, I said, pointing to the door. What are you talking about? My mother-in-law asked. I filed for the divorce a while ago, and it was accepted. We're no longer married, I explained. Daniel seemed confused and didn't believe me. I don't know what you're upset about, but I'll apologize. Let's work this out, he said. I don't care about your apology, I responded. We're already divorced. I showed him the divorce certificate that I had kept safe. Daniel's face went pale as he read it. When did this happen? He asked, stammering. You signed the papers yourself, I reminded him, the day I accidentally ruined the clothes. You left completed divorce papers on the table. Daniel insisted the papers were invalid, but I reminded him of everything he had said. I had been recording our conversations and keeping a diary, which I now played back for him. There were recordings of his and his mother's words, including him saying, if you serve food like this, I'm divorcing you. They stood frozen in shock. Since you two are strangers now, you need to leave. I never invited you in. If you don't leave, I'll call the police, I said. They panicked and rushed out, and I locked the door behind them. It turns out that after finding out my parents and I had bought a new house, Daniel and his mother moved out of their place, ended their lease, and struggled to find somewhere new to live. Their life together wasn't going as smoothly as before. My mother-in-law, who had forced me to do all the housework, didn't want to do it herself, and Daniel, who wasn't used to it, had to take on the chores. She also told friends and relatives about moving to a luxurious new house, but in reality, she ended up in a generic apartment. This led to rumors about her being dishonest. The stress caused her to lash out at Daniel, and they argued constantly, with no one else to vent to. My mother-in-law took her frustrations out on him, and their relationship became even more strained. As for me, I was happily living in the new house with my parents and my healthy baby boy, who was born safely. My parents were supporting me, and I planned to return to work when my son was older. My goal was to raise my son in a home full of love and happiness, and every day I worked hard to make that dream a reality. I was finally living a peaceful and fulfilling life. Music? Thank you.
The diamond caught the morning light, scattering tiny rainbows across my kitchen wall. 3 carats of promises, memories, and sacrifice, all about to slip through my fingers. Again. My name is Lana, and I was about to sell my engagement ring to fund my brother's college education. The same ring I'd spent 2 years paying off after Marcus died because I couldn't bear to part with it then. But Tyler's acceptance letter to NYU changed everything. My phone buzzed, interrupting my moment of reflection. Jordan's name flashed on the screen. Have you seen Tyler's Instagram? She asked without preamble. You know I don't follow social media much these days, I replied, still staring at the ring. Why? Girl, you need to look, now. I pulled up Instagram while keeping Jordan on the line. There was Tyler, my baby brother, lounging in what looked like a high-end New York club, surrounded by bottles of champagne and designer shopping bags. That's from last night, Jordan said softly. Lana, isn't he supposed to be studying? My throat tightened. He is. He's probably just celebrating something. Midterms, maybe? With Cristal? In the VIP section of Lavo? That's not exactly ramen noodle budget territory. I thought back to 6 months ago, sitting across from Tyler at our mom's worn kitchen table. His hands had trembled as he showed me the acceptance letter. I can't ask Mom for this kind of money, he'd said, voice cracking. She's already working 2 jobs. Let me worry about it, I'd told him, already touching the ring on my finger. You just focus on studying. Now, looking at the photo, something cold settled in my stomach. I should call him. It's only 9 there, Jordan said. He's probably still asleep after that party. I dialed anyway. It went straight to voicemail. Hey Ty, just checking in. Call me when you can? My mother's voice startled me from the doorway. Everything okay, honey? I quickly closed Instagram. Mom, I thought you were at work. Double shift got canceled. She walked over and hugged me from behind, then froze when she saw the ring on the counter. Oh, Lana. It's fine, Mom. Really? No, it's not fine. That ring meant everything to you. Marcus would have wanted Tyler to have a chance. I cut her off. Besides, it's just sitting in my jewelry box most days. Mom's eyes welled up. You've always taken care of everyone else. Even after Marcus. You never let yourself grieve properly. Always making sure Tyler and I were okay. My phone buzzed again. A text from Tyler. Can't talk now. In class. Love you. I checked the time in New York. 9:15 a.m. According to the schedule he'd sent me, his first class wasn't until 11. I need to go to New York, I said suddenly. Mom's eyebrows shot up. What? Why? To surprise Tyler. See how he's settling in. I picked up the ring, its weight suddenly foreign in my hand. And to visit a jewelry appraiser I found online. They're offering the best price. At least let me help with the plane ticket, Mom started, but I shook my head. You need to save for retirement. I've got this. I slipped the ring into my pocket. Besides, it'll be good to see Tyler. Make sure he's adjusting well. Jordan, still on the phone, cleared her throat. Want me to come with you? No, but thanks. This is something I need to do alone. After hanging up, I booked the cheapest flight I could find for the next day. As I packed my overnight bag, more notifications from Tyler's Instagram popped up. Designer watches, rooftop parties, a new apartment in Manhattan that definitely wasn't student housing. My hand brushed against the ring in my pocket. 3 carats of sacrifice, meant to be his ticket to a better life through education. Instead, it seemed to be funding something else entirely. The last photo stopped me cold. Tyler, arm around a glamorous blonde, both holding up glasses of champagne. The caption read, "Living my best life. Thanks to my amazing sister for making all this possible. Blessed NYC or luxury life." My fingers trembled as I dialed Professor Brown's number, Tyler's former mentor from his community college days, the one person who might help me understand what was really going on. Lana? His familiar voice answered. This is unexpected. Professor Brown, I need your help. It's about Tyler. Ah, he said, his tone shifting. I was wondering when you'd call. The Uber dropped me off in front of a gleaming high-rise in Manhattan's Upper East Side. Not exactly the student housing address Tyler had given me. I double-checked the location I'd tracked his phone to. Definitely here. Can I help you? The doorman eyed my travel-worn appearance suspiciously. I'm here to see Tyler. Apartment 1507. Mr. Holmes? He raised an eyebrow. And you are? His sister. His demeanor changed instantly. Oh, Miss Lana, Mr. Tyler has mentioned you. Please, go right up. The elevator ride gave me time to process the luxury surrounding me. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, a monthly rent that probably cost more than I made in half a year. I knocked on 1507. Music thumped from inside, along with laughter and the clink of glasses. It was 2 p.m. on a Wednesday. The door swung open. A tall blonde in designer clothes looked me up and down. Can I help you? I'm looking for Tyler. Oh my God, are you Lana? She squealed, pulling me into an unexpected hug. I'm Chelsea. Tyler talks about you constantly. Come in, come in. The apartment was straight out of a magazine. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Central Park. Modern art adorned the walls. Empty champagne bottles decorated every surface. Tyler emerged from what looked like a home theater room, followed by 3 other people dressed like they'd just stepped off a runway. Lana? His face went pale. What are you... why didn't you tell me you were coming? Surprise, I said flatly. Chelsea clapped her hands. This is perfect. We were just celebrating Tyler's new investment portfolio. He's such a financial genius. Investment portfolio? I turned to Tyler. What about your classes? The room went quiet. Tyler's friends exchanged glances. Maybe we should give them some privacy, Chelsea suggested, ushering everyone toward the door. Once alone, Tyler's confident facade crumbled slightly. Look, I can explain. Please do. I pulled out my phone, showing him his class schedule. Because according to this, you should be in Economics 101 right now. I dropped that class. It was too basic for what I'm doing now. And what exactly are you doing now? He gestured around the apartment. Living my potential. I've made connections here, Lana. Real opportunities. College is for people who need a safety net. I'm already making more than any entry-level graduate. With what money, Tyler? He wouldn't meet my eyes. I took the tuition money and invested it, made some smart plays in crypto, got into some exclusive trading groups. You took the money from my engagement ring and gambled with it? It wasn't gambling. I tripled the investment in 2 months. I walked to his bedroom door, pushed it open. Designer clothes everywhere. A watch collection worth more than our mother's house. Bank statements scattered across his desk. Mom's working double shifts, I said quietly, picking up a statement. I sold the last piece of Marcus I had left, and you're buying Gucci loafers? You don't understand how it works here, Tyler protested. Image is everything. I had to look the part to get into the right circles, and it worked. I'm making real money now. Show me your class schedule, your actual one. He hesitated. I'm taking a gap semester just until... Until what? Until you lose everything on a bad trade? Until this fantasy life comes crashing down? It's not a fantasy. God, you're just like Mom, stuck in that small-town mindset where everyone has to follow the same safe, boring path. The words hit like a slap. I thought of all the nights I'd stayed up with him, helping with homework. The pride in his voice when he'd gotten into NYU. The brother I thought I knew. You're right, I said, my voice steady despite the trembling in my hands. I am like Mom. We both believed in you. I turned to leave, but his voice stopped me. Lana, wait. I'll pay you back for the ring, with interest, once this next investment pays off. It's not about the money, Tyler. I met his eyes. It's about trust and responsibility. 2 things I thought I taught you. I am being responsible. I'm securing my future. No, I said quietly. You're running from it. As I walked out, Chelsea was waiting in the hallway. Is everything okay? Tyler's been so stressed lately about the trades not performing. I cut her off. How much has he lost? She blinked. Lost? The investments. How much? I'm not supposed to say, but last week was pretty bad. He said he just needs another month to turn it around. I nodded, pulled out my phone, and dialed Professor Brown again. I'm in New York, I said when he answered. And you were right about everything. Let's talk about that scholarship program you mentioned. Professor Brown's office at Columbia University felt like stepping into another world. Books lined every wall, and the afternoon sun cast long shadows through the tall windows. He hadn't changed much since I'd last seen him at Tyler's community college graduation. Same salt and pepper beard, same thoughtful eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Coffee? He offered, gesturing to a French press on his desk. I need something stronger after what I just saw. He smiled sadly. Tyler's new lifestyle isn't quite what you expected? Did you know? I leaned forward. About him dropping out? He didn't exactly drop out, he just stopped showing up. Professor Brown poured 2 cups of coffee anyway. Started missing classes about 2 months ago. When I reached out, he told me he'd found a better opportunity. Crypto trading, I said bitterly, and some investment scheme he won't explain properly. Ah yes, the siren song of quick money. He took a sip of coffee. You know, Tyler was one of my most promising students back at the community college. Brilliant mind for economics when he applied himself. What happened? New York happened. Or rather, the idea of New York he'd built up in his head. Professor Brown pulled out a folder. He started following these self-styled finance gurus on social media, became obsessed with their lifestyles, the cars, the clothes, the instant wealth. And now he's living it, with my money. Not for long, from what I hear. The crypto market's been volatile. Several of these exclusive trading groups have turned out to be elaborate scams. I buried my face in my hands. I should have known, should have checked on him sooner. You're here now. He slid the folder across his desk. And I think I have a solution that might benefit everyone. Inside was a detailed proposal for a scholarship program. Full ride, including housing and expenses. The catch? An intensive community service requirement and mandatory financial literacy courses. The Redemption Scholarship, I read aloud, officially sponsored by Columbia's Economics Department. Very prestigious, very selective. His eyes twinkled. And completely tailored to one specific candidate. You created this just for Tyler? Let's say I had a feeling it might be needed. The community service portion is run through local shelters and financial literacy programs, teaching basic budgeting to people who've hit hard times. The irony wasn't lost on me. And you think he'll go for it? Right now, Tyler's running out of options. Those trading losses Chelsea mentioned, they're significant. He's burning through money faster than he can make it. My phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. I'm sorry about earlier. Can we talk? He's reaching out, I showed Professor Brown the message. Perfect timing. The scholarship application deadline is next week. He handed me another document. Here's the press release we'll be sending to all local universities. Make sure it finds its way to him. Won't he suspect something when he's the only applicant? Oh, there will be other applicants, all carefully selected to be either underqualified or unavailable. The selection committee, which includes me, will ensure the right candidate is chosen. I studied the requirements. 20 hours per week of community service, mandatory financial counseling, regular progress reports. This feels manipulative. Sometimes people need a structured path back to reality. Professor Brown's voice softened. Tyler's not the first student I've seen get seduced by the promise of easy money, but he might be one of the few I can still help. My phone buzzed again. Tyler, please, I messed up. I need your help. If he finds out we orchestrated this, then he'll learn another valuable lesson about consequences and caring family members. Professor Brown stood, walking to his window. You know, I had a brother like Tyler. Brilliant, charismatic, always chasing the next big thing. I tried to help him the gentle way. Know where he is now? I shook my head. Neither do I. Haven't heard from him in 15 years. He turned back to me. Sometimes tough love is the only love that works. I picked up the scholarship documents, feeling their weight in more ways than one. When do we start? I'll have my assistant send out the press release tomorrow. Make sure Tyler sees it. Let him think it's his idea to apply. As I stood to leave, Professor Brown added, Lana, this won't be easy. He might resist, might even hate you for a while when he realizes the truth. He already resents me for being small-town-minded, I replied. At least this way, that resentment might save his future. I pulled out my phone to reply to Tyler. Meet me for coffee tomorrow. I think I found a way to help, a legitimate way. His response came quickly. Thank you. I love you, sis. I stared at those words, remembering the little brother who used to mean them without reservation. I love you too, I typed back. More than you know. The coffee shop near Washington Square Park buzzed with morning energy. Tyler arrived 15 minutes late, designer sunglasses hiding what I suspected were hungover eyes. Sorry, he mumbled, sliding into the seat across from me. Rough night. Another celebration? He winced. Actually, no. Had to liquidate some positions. Market's been challenging. I pushed my phone across the table, the scholarship announcement displayed on the screen. Found this morning. Thought of you. His eyes scanned the text, widening slightly. Full ride at Columbia, with housing? Prestigious, too. Only accepting 5 students. I stirred my coffee casually. Professor Brown's on the selection committee. Eric? Tyler sat up straighter. I haven't talked to him since you ghosted his classes? He had the decency to look embarrassed. Yeah, that. The deadline's next week. Requirements are pretty intense, though. Tyler was already scrolling through the details. Community service component, financial literacy certification, weekly progress reports. He frowned. Seems like a lot of hand-holding. It's free money, Ty. Legitimate free money. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, face paling slightly. I need to make a call. Give me a minute. I watched through the window as he paced outside, gesturing animatedly. When he returned, his hands were shaking. Everything okay? Just some investment stuff. He grabbed my coffee, took a long sip. About that scholarship? You really think I have a shot? Professor Brown always said you were one of his best students. Yeah, He trailed off, then pulled out his phone again, this time showing me his trading account. Red numbers filled the screen. I might need a backup plan anyway. How bad is it? Remember that crypto rally last month? I borrowed against my positions to increase exposure, but then the market reversed and... In English, Tyler. He slumped in his chair. I lost everything, more than everything. I'm in debt, bad debt. The kind of debt that has people making threatening phone calls? His silence was answer enough. Apply for the scholarship, I said firmly. Today, now. The community service thing, though? 20 hours a week? When would I have time to trade? Maybe that's the point, to focus on your actual future instead of gambling it away. It's not gambling, he protested, but without his usual conviction. It's calculated risk. How's that working out for you? His phone buzzed again. This time I caught a glimpse of the message. Payment due in 48 hours, or we'll have to take alternative measures. Give me your phone, I said. What? Why? Because you're going to call Professor Brown right now and apologize. Then you're going to ask him about this scholarship personally. Lana, phone now. He handed it over reluctantly. I dialed Professor Brown's number, put it on speaker. Tyler? Professor Brown's voice filled our corner of the cafe. This is unexpected. Professor, Tyler looked at me helplessly. I nodded encouragingly. I messed up, really badly. I'm aware. I saw the scholarship announcement, the redemption scholarship. I know I don't deserve it, after how I left things, but you'd like to apply? Yes, sir, if you'll let me. There was a long pause. The community service component is non-negotiable, as are the financial literacy courses. I understand. And you'll need to maintain a full course load, no more disappearing acts. Yes, sir. Come by my office this afternoon. We'll discuss the details. Another pause. And, Tyler, I'm glad you called. After hanging up, Tyler stared at his empty coffee cup. What if I fail again? Then you fail trying to do something real, instead of failing at get-rich-quick schemes. His phone buzzed once more. This time he turned it off completely. The apartment, he said quietly. The clothes, everything. I'll have to give it all up. The scholarship includes housing, remember? Chelsea won't understand. If she doesn't understand you choosing education over debt, then maybe that's important information too. He nodded slowly, then pulled out his laptop. Help me with the application? I watched as he typed his personal statement, deleting and rewriting sentences, occasionally asking my opinion. For a moment, I saw the old Tyler, the one who used to get excited about economics textbooks and market theory. Lana, he said, not looking up from his screen. Thank you for not giving up on me. I thought about the ring, about Professor Brown's carefully crafted plan, about the web of well-intentioned deception we'd spun around my brother. That's what family does, I replied, and prayed he'd still feel the same way when he eventually discovered the truth. I got it. Tyler's voice exploded through my phone. I actually got it. The scholarship committee just called. I pressed my phone closer to my ear, trying to sound surprised. That's amazing. When do you start? Next week. They're fast-tracking everything because of my situation. His voice dropped slightly. Chelsea left, by the way. Said she didn't sign up for dating a charity case. Her loss. Yeah. He paused. Hey, can you come to my first day at the shelter? The community service part starts tomorrow, and I'm kind of nervous. That wasn't part of the plan. I glanced at the calendar on my wall, at my work schedule. I'll be there. The next morning, I found Tyler standing outside the downtown community center, wearing the only non-designer outfit he had left, jeans and a plain black t-shirt. He looked younger somehow, more vulnerable. Ready? I asked. What if I'm terrible at this? He gestured at the building. I don't know how to help people? I finished for him. Pretty sure that's why they call it learning. Inside, we were greeted by a woman named Maria, the volunteer coordinator. Her eyes crinkled with warmth, but there was steel in her handshake. Tyler, our new scholarship recipient. She looked him over. Perfect timing. We're short-staffed in the financial literacy workshop today. Tyler froze. Workshop? I thought I'd be serving food or something. Oh, you'll do that too. But Professor Brown mentioned your economics background. We have people here who need help understanding basic budgeting, debt management, predatory lending. I couldn't help but smile at the irony. Tyler shot me a look that said he caught it too. First group starts in 10 minutes, Maria continued, handing him a folder. Just share what you've learned, especially about what not to do. The classroom was small, filled with about 15 people. Some wore business clothes, others looked like they'd slept rough. All had the same worried look in their eyes that I'd seen in Tyler's lately. Hi, Tyler started awkwardly. I'm Tyler. I'm here to talk about financial responsibility. He laughed nervously, which is kind of funny because 2 weeks ago I lost everything in crypto trading and almost got involved with loan sharks. The room went silent. Then a man in the back spoke up. How much did you lose? Tyler swallowed hard. Everything my sister sacrificed to give me, and then some. What happened? Someone else asked. I thought I was smarter than everyone else. Thought I'd found a shortcut. Tyler's voice grew stronger. Want to know what I learned instead? For the next hour, I watched my brother transform. He broke down complex financial terms into simple language, used his own mistakes as cautionary tales, and actually listened to people's stories. The former investment bros' swagger was gone, replaced by something more genuine. During the break, Maria appeared beside me. He's a natural. He is, isn't he? I blinked back unexpected tears. Professor Brown said this might happen. Said sometimes teaching others helps us learn our own lessons. After the workshop, Tyler was surrounded by participants asking questions, sharing stories. One woman was crying as she thanked him for helping her understand her debt consolidation options. Tyler joined me later, looking dazed. That was intense. Good intense or bad intense? Good. Really good. He ran a hand through his hair. You know what's crazy? Everything I taught them today, about impulse control, about not trusting get-rich-quick schemes, it's all stuff I used to know, before New York made me forget. My phone buzzed with a text from Professor Brown. How's it going? Those people in there, Tyler continued, they're just like me, trying to fix their mistakes, trying to find their way back. I typed back, better than we hoped. Lana. Tyler's voice was quiet. I found something in the scholarship paperwork about the selection process. My heart stopped. Oh? Yeah, apparently I was the only applicant who met all the criteria exactly. Almost like... He looked at me carefully. Almost like it was designed for me specifically. I held my breath, waiting for the anger, the accusation. Instead, he hugged me. Thank you, he whispered, for not just writing me off, for finding a way to help me help myself. You knew? I figured it out last night. The timing, Professor Brown's involvement, the specific requirements. He pulled back, smiling slightly. You've always been terrible at subtle. Are you mad? I was, for about 5 minutes. Then I realized something. He gestured toward the classroom. Sometimes the best revenge isn't punishment. Sometimes it's giving someone the chance to remember who they really are. I thought about the ring, about all the anger that had driven my initial plan for revenge. Somehow, watching Tyler connect with people who needed his help had transformed that anger into something else. Something better. Ready for tomorrow's session? I asked. Actually, he grinned. I have some ideas for improving the program. You can't just give up. Chelsea's voice echoed through the community center hallway. This isn't you, Tyler. I rounded the corner to find them facing off near the classroom, where Tyler was supposed to be teaching his financial literacy workshop in 5 minutes. Chelsea looked exactly as she had in the luxury apartment, designer everything, but Tyler stood his ground in his now familiar jeans and t-shirt. "Actually, this is me," he said quietly. "The other guy, the one throwing money around and making crazy promises, that was the fake version. The fake version could afford me." Several heads poked out of the classroom, drawn by the commotion. I recognized some of Tyler's regular students, including Maria, who started to move toward them. "I've got this," I told her softly. Chelsea spotted me. "Oh, perfect, the puppet master herself. Did you enjoy destroying your brother's future?" "My future's fine," Tyler cut in. "Better than fine. I'm back in school, my grades are great, and I'm actually helping people." "You're working in a homeless shelter." "Community center," Tyler corrected. "Teaching financial literacy to people who need it. You know, like I needed it 2 months ago when I was about to lose everything." "But what about us? Our plans?" "Your plans," Tyler said. "Your vision of what my life should look like. I never wanted the penthouse or the yacht parties. I just thought I needed them to keep you." I watched my brother, seeing how straight he stood now, how clear his eyes were. No more designer sunglasses hiding hangovers. "Miss?" a small voice interrupted. An elderly woman from Tyler's class approached Chelsea. "Are you the girlfriend he told us about? The one who helped him spend all that borrowed money?" Chelsea's face reddened. "I didn't make him do anything." "No, but you sure enjoyed the benefits," Tyler said. "Where were you when the debt collector started calling?" "I'm not having this conversation here." Chelsea straightened her Gucci bag. "When you come to your senses, call me. The real you knows where to find me." "The real me is standing right here," Tyler called after her retreating form. "Teaching starts in 2 minutes if you want to learn something." She didn't turn back. Tyler slumped against the wall once she was gone. "Well, that happened. You okay?" "Weirdly? Yeah." He straightened up, checking his notes. "Today's lesson is actually about emotional spending and toxic financial relationships. How's that for timing?" Inside the classroom, his students were waiting. Over the past few weeks, the group had grown. Word had spread about the young former trader who taught finance through brutal honesty about his own mistakes. "Sorry about that scene," Tyler addressed the room. "Though it does lead perfectly into today's topic, how our relationships affect our financial decisions." "Was that really your ex?" someone asked. "Yep. And a perfect example of what we're discussing." Tyler grabbed a marker, wrote "financial red flags in relationships" on the whiteboard. "Let's talk about warning signs I completely missed while trying to live up to someone else's expectations." For the next hour, I watched from the back as Tyler transformed his fresh heartbreak into a powerful lesson. He broke down how toxic relationships can lead to toxic finances, using his own story as a case study. The class was more engaged than ever, sharing their own experiences, asking questions. "Remember," Tyler concluded, "true support isn't about enabling harmful behaviors. Sometimes real love means calling someone out on their mistakes, or even setting up an elaborate scholarship scheme to save them from themselves." The class laughed, several people glancing my way. "Speaking of which," he continued, "I have an announcement. Professor Brown has approved my proposal to expand this program. Starting next month, we'll be offering evening classes for working people and a weekend workshop for teens." The room erupted in applause. Maria, who had slipped in during the lesson, beamed from her corner. After class, Tyler was surrounded by his usual crowd of people asking questions and sharing stories. I overheard him telling one young man, "Trust me, if I can turn it around, anyone can." "Hey, sis," he caught up with me later. "Want to grab coffee? I need your help with something." At the coffee shop, he pulled out a familiar folder, his scholarship paperwork. "So I've been thinking," he said, flipping through pages. "This redemption scholarship, other people could benefit from it too, not just spoiled little brothers who lose their sister's engagement ring money." "What are you suggesting?" "I want to make it real, not just our elaborate revenge scheme, but an actual ongoing program." His eyes lit up with the same enthusiasm he used to show for trading. "Professor Brown's already on board. We just need to figure out the funding." "Tyler, I know, no get-rich-quick schemes." He grinned. But what about get other people on track slow schemes? I've got some ideas. Looking at him then, I realized our revenge plan had backfired in the best possible way. Instead of just teaching Tyler a lesson, we'd given him a purpose. Mom's going to kill us both, Tyler said, pacing Professor Brown's office. She's flying in tomorrow for the ceremony, and we still haven't told her anything. Told her what? I looked up from the scholarship program brochures we'd been reviewing. That her son is graduating with honors? That he's turned the community center program into a success story? That this whole thing was an elaborate setup? He ran his hands through his hair. That her children conspired to manipulate. To save, Professor Brown interrupted, not looking up from his desk. The word you're looking for is save. A knock at the door made us all jump. Maria entered, carrying a stack of papers. Latest numbers from the center, she announced. We've helped 37 people avoid bankruptcy this month alone. 15 have started savings accounts. And that teenage program Tyler started? 3 of them just got college acceptance letters. Tyler stopped pacing. Really? Which ones? Marcus, Jenna, and that quiet kid? David? The one who reminded you of yourself? I watched my brother's face light up. 6 months ago, he'd been the one needing help. Now he was changing lives. See? I said. That's what we're telling Mom. Speaking of mothers, Professor Brown finally looked up. Yours is currently in the reception area. What? Tyler and I said in unison. She arrived early, wanted to surprise you. He pressed his intercom. Send her in, please. Mom walked in, looking exactly like she had the day I'd told her I was selling my ring, worried but trying to hide it. She hugged Tyler first, then me. I thought I'd come see where all the magic happens, she said, looking around the office. Then she spotted the brochures on the table. The Redemption Scholarship? That's the one you got, right, Tyler? Tyler shot me a panicked look. Mrs. Holmes, Professor Brown stood. Please, sit down. There's something we should discuss. Over the next 20 minutes, we told her everything. The Instagram posts that had tipped me off. The gambling losses. The fake scholarship designed specifically for Tyler. With each revelation, her face grew more serious. When we finished, the silence was deafening. Mom, Tyler's voice cracked. Say something. She turned to Professor Brown. This scholarship, it wasn't real. The money was real. The opportunity was real. The competition, he smiled slightly, was carefully curated. And you knew about this? She looked at me. I helped plan it, I admitted. I was so angry about the ring money, about Tyler throwing away his chance. I wanted revenge, but then it turned into something else. Show her, Tyler said suddenly. Show me what? Tyler pulled up a video on his phone. It was from last week's graduation ceremony at the community center. 15 people receiving certificates from the financial literacy program. Tyler beaming as he handed them out. These people, he explained, they all have stories like mine. Bad decisions, wrong turns, but they're turning it around. He swallowed hard. Because of what you taught me, Mom, about not giving up on people, about how sometimes love looks like tough choices. Mom's eyes welled up. And the ring money? I reached into my bag, pulled out an envelope. This is from Tyler's first teaching stipend at the center. It's not the full amount yet, but I'm paying her back, Tyler cut in. Every penny. And then we're using the rest to fund real scholarships for people who need second chances. Mom was quiet for a long moment. Then she started laughing. Mom? I exchanged worried looks with Tyler. I'm sorry, she wiped her eyes. It's just... Do you remember when you two were little? How you'd always scheme together? Build elaborate traps for the tooth fairy? This was a little bigger than the tooth fairy, Mom, Tyler said. But the result is the same. She stood, hugging us both. You worked together to create something good, even if the method was unconventional. So you're not mad? I asked. Mad? My son is graduating with honors, teaching others, and my daughter... She touched my cheek. You turned revenge into redemption. How could I be mad about that? Professor Brown cleared his throat. If I might interrupt this lovely moment, Tyler, you have a class to teach, and there's someone special waiting to enroll. We all turned to see Chelsea in the doorway, looking very different from the last time I'd seen her. No designer clothes, no perfect makeup. She shifted uncomfortably. I lost everything in that last crypto crash. Turns out I needed those lessons too. Tyler looked at me, then at Mom, then back at Chelsea. Class starts in 10 minutes, he said professionally. We have a strict policy about being on time. As Chelsea hurried off, Mom squeezed both our hands. Now, about tomorrow's graduation ceremony. Actually, Tyler grinned, there's one more surprise we haven't told you about. The graduation hall buzzed with excitement as Professor Brown approached the podium. Mom squeezed my hand as we sat in the front row, watching Tyler fidget with his graduation cap backstage. Today, Professor Brown began, we celebrate not just academic achievement, but personal transformation. Our valedictorian embodies the spirit of redemption, of turning mistakes into stepping stones. I spotted Chelsea in the back row, now one of Tyler's most dedicated students at the community center. She caught my eye and nodded slightly. But before we hear from him, Professor Brown continued, there's a special announcement. The Redemption Scholarship, which began as a unique intervention for one student, has received full funding for the next 5 years. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Tyler's head snapped up. Thanks to a generous donation from an anonymous benefactor, Professor Brown's eyes met mine, we will offer 5 full scholarships annually to students who demonstrate both academic potential and a commitment to community service. Mom turned to me. Anonymous benefactor? I touched my ring finger, now bare but somehow feeling lighter than it had in years. The jewelry appraiser finally found the right buyer, for twice what we expected. Lana? The money was always meant for education, I said. Now it'll help more people than just Tyler. Professor Brown gestured to the side stage. And now, our valedictorian, Tyler Holmes. Tyler stepped up to the podium, looking nothing like the lost boy from that Manhattan apartment. His speech cards trembled slightly as he set them down. When I first came to New York, he started, I thought success meant fancy apartments and expensive clothes. I confused wealth with worth. He paused, finding my eyes in the crowd. My sister taught me differently, through a scheme that probably broke several laws of sibling ethics. Laughter rippled through the audience. But here's what I learned. Sometimes the people who love you most will go to extreme lengths to save you from yourself. And sometimes, the revenge they plan turns into the redemption you need. He pulled something from his pocket, a small velvet box. My breath caught. In this box is a ring, not the original one my sister sacrificed for me. That ring is now funding futures for others who need second chances. This is a different ring, a smaller one, bought with my first real paycheck from teaching. He opened the box, revealing a simple silver band with a small diamond. This ring represents my promise, not just to my sister, but to everyone who believes in second chances. A promise to keep teaching, to keep learning, and to remember that true worth isn't in what we have, but in what we give back. He stepped down from the podium, walked to where I sat, and held out the box. I can't replace what you lost, he said softly, but I can honor what you taught me. Through tears, I saw Mom pulling out her phone, recording everything. Professor Brown was beaming. Even Chelsea was wiping her eyes. You know this doesn't make us even, I managed to say as I took the box. I know. Tyler grinned. That's why I also registered for a lifetime of Big Brother duties at the community center. Maria's already got me scheduled through next summer. Professor Brown returned to the podium. And now I'm pleased to introduce our first official class of Redemption Scholars. 5 students stood up throughout the audience, including David, the quiet kid who reminded Tyler of himself. Each of them had a story of failure and recovery. Each of them had found their way to Tyler's financial literacy classes. Sometimes revenge backfires, I whispered to Mom as Tyler returned to his seat among the graduates. In the best possible way. It wasn't revenge, she whispered back. It was love. Complicated, slightly illegal love, but love nonetheless. After the ceremony, as we gathered for photos, Tyler pulled me aside. Remember what you said when you first found me in that apartment, About trust and responsibility. I nodded. You were right, but not in the way you meant to be. He gestured around at the celebrating graduates, at his students from the community center, at the new redemption scholars. You trusted me to find my way back. Even when your plan was about revenge, some part of you trusted that I could be better. And the responsibility part? Turns out teaching others about responsibility taught me more than losing everything did. He straightened his cap. Ready to go change more lives? I slipped on the new ring, smaller than the old one, but somehow meaning more. Lead the way, Professor. As we walked toward the reception, where Professor Brown was already discussing next semester's programs with Maria, I realized that sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. Sometimes it's about getting better and helping others do the same. Tyler bumped my shoulder. Race you to the cake? Just like that, we were kids again. Running, laughing, scheming, but this time for all the right reasons.
The annual Wong family reunion always felt like walking into a minefield, but this year the explosions would be different. I just didn't know it yet. I'm Jordan, and I was running late. Again. The familiar driveway of my parents' suburban home was already lined with luxury cars, Oakley's pearl-white Tesla commanding the prime spot nearest the door. Of course. Jordan, you made it. My mother rushed forward as I entered, her silk dress swishing. Her smile was genuine, but tinged with that familiar worry. Oakley's been asking where you were. I bet she has, I thought, smoothing down my simple blue sundress. Traffic was terrible, Mom. Sorry I'm late. When isn't she late? Oakley's voice carried across the room like a perfectly aimed arrow. My sister glided over, champagne in hand, looking every bit the successful real estate agent in her designer outfit. But I guess that's what happens when you take the bus. I drove, actually, I said, forcing a smile. The hospital parking is expensive, but the nurse's lot has some perks. Oh, right, still doing that nursing thing? Oakley's perfectly manicured hand waved dismissively. Brian and I just closed on our 4th investment property this year. You should really think about your future, sis. Before I could respond, my father appeared. Oakley, sweetheart, tell everyone about that new development deal. I watched as she commanded the room's attention, something she'd perfected since childhood. My cousin Jeremy caught my eye from across the room and gave me a sympathetic smile. Everyone, Oakley clinked her glass. I have an announcement. The room hushed. I grabbed a glass of wine from a passing tray, already knowing this wouldn't be good. Brian and I are looking at the most amazing vacation property in the Hamptons. She gushed. It's absolutely perfect. Private beach access, 6 bedrooms, infinity pool. She paused dramatically. Of course, not everyone can afford such investments. Jordan, didn't you mention you were having money troubles? The room went silent. I froze, wine glass halfway to my lips. I never said that. I managed. Oh, come on. Oakley pressed, her smile sharp. I saw those collection notices in your mailbox when I dropped by last month. No shame in admitting you're struggling. We can't all be successful. Heat crept up my neck as relatives shifted uncomfortably. My mother's face fell, and my father looked anywhere but at me. I'm doing fine, Oakley, I said quietly. Fine? Sweetie, you live in a tiny apartment and take the bus. It's okay to admit you need help. That's what family's for. Her voice dripped with fake concern. Brian, her husband, laughed nervously. Oak, maybe we should... No, really, she continued. Jordan's always been the practical one. Some people just aren't meant for bigger things. That's when something inside me snapped, not in a dramatic, visible way. Instead, it was like a quiet click, the sound of a lock turning, a plan falling into place. I smiled, took a sip of wine, and said nothing. Jordan? My mother ventured, concerned by my silence. Oakley's right, I said finally, my voice steady. Some people aren't meant for bigger things. They're meant for smarter things. My sister's smile faltered slightly. Excuse me, I said, pulling out my phone as it buzzed. Work emergency. As I stepped onto the back porch, I saw Guy's message. Everything's set. The papers are signed. I looked through the window at my family, at Oakley holding court, at my parents beaming at their successful daughter, at the relatives who'd watched this dynamic play out for years. My phone buzzed again. This time it was my real estate agent. "Congratulations, the Hampton house is yours." I smiled, thinking of Oakley's face when she'd announced her plans for that very same house. She had no idea I'd been quietly watching her social media posts about it for months. No idea I'd been building my wealth slowly and strategically while she flaunted hers. No idea that her perfect vacation home dream had just been purchased by her struggling little sister. I typed back quickly. "Perfect. Don't let anyone know about the sale yet." The party continued inside, laughter and chatter floating through the windows. I stayed on the porch a moment longer, savoring the calm before the storm I was about to create. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served with perfect timing. "You're actually insane," Guy said, stirring his coffee as we sat in our usual corner of the hospital cafeteria. Like, actually certifiably insane. And I love it. 3 days had passed since the family reunion, and I was still riding the high of my secret purchase. 7 years of night shifts and living below my means had to pay off sometime. But the Hamptons house? That's next level petty. He leaned forward, grinning. "Tell me everything." I pulled out my phone, showing him the listing photos. 6 bedrooms, private beach access, and the infinity pool Oakley wouldn't shut up about on Instagram. The same one she's been posting about for months? The very same. I swiped through more photos. Remember when I started picking up extra shifts 4 years ago? When Oakley told everyone at Christmas dinner that nursing was a backup career for people who couldn't hack medical school? I nodded. That's when I started seriously investing. Every extra shift, every bonus, straight into my portfolio. While she was posting about her designer handbags, I was meeting with financial advisors. And nobody knew? Why would they? Oakley made sure everyone saw me as the struggling little sister. It was the perfect cover. My phone buzzed, a text from Jeremy. "Oak's posting about the house again. You seeing this?" I opened Instagram. There was Oakley, posed in front of the house during what must have been her viewing, caption reading, "Dreams do come true. Can't wait to make this paradise ours. Blessed Israel luxury, real estate." Guy nearly choked on his coffee. "She doesn't know? The seller's agent is keeping it quiet at my request. She thinks she's getting it." "Jordan." A sharp voice cut through our conversation. Dr. Martinez hurried over. "Multiple car pileup coming in. We need all hands." I grabbed my coffee. Back to reality. Dinner tonight? Wouldn't miss it. This is better than Netflix. The next 12 hours were a blur of trauma patients, surgical assists, and paperwork. By the time I got to Guy's apartment, I was exhausted but wired. "Your timing is incredible," he said, handing me a glass of wine as I collapsed onto his couch. "Look what just came in the mail." He handed me an envelope. Inside was a letter from a development company, offering to buy my new property for significantly more than I'd paid. "They're building a resort complex," Guy explained. "They've been trying to buy up properties in that area." I stared at the number. It was enough to double my investment instantly. "You're not considering it, are you?" Guy asked, reading my expression. "No way. This isn't about money." I set the letter down. "You weren't there for my graduation." "The nursing ceremony? I thought your family went." "They did. Oakley showed up late, talked through my speech, then spent the whole dinner talking about her new real estate license. When I mentioned I'd graduated top of my class, she said, 'That's cute, but let's talk about real achievements.'" Guy winced. "Your parents?" "Dad asked Oakley for investment advice. Mom just wanted everyone to get along." I took a long sip of wine. That's been my whole life. Oakley shines, I fade into the background, but not anymore. My phone lit up with a family group chat notification. Oakley had sent a message. "Big news coming soon. Family dinner at my place this weekend to celebrate." "She thinks she's getting the house," Guy said, reading over my shoulder. "She thinks a lot of things." I showed him my banking app. where years of careful saving and investing had built a surprisingly robust portfolio. Nobody ever asked how I could afford to live alone in the city on a nurse's salary. They just assumed I was struggling. Because that's what Oakley told them to think. Exactly. I forwarded the development company's letter to my email. You know what the best part is? I learned everything about real estate investment from listening to her brag about it at family gatherings. Every strategy, every market trend. She taught me everything I needed to know to beat her at her own game. Guy's phone buzzed. He laughed. Jeremy wants to know if you're coming to Oakley's dinner. Wouldn't miss it. I pulled up the property documents on my phone. The closing papers should be finalized by Friday. Just in time for her announcement. Just in time, I agreed, thinking about the look on Oakley's face when she realized her dream house announcement was about to turn into my victory lap. Another text came through, this time from my mother. Oakley says you haven't RSVP'd for Saturday. Please come, sweetheart. Family should stick together. I smiled as I typed my response. Don't worry, Mom. I wouldn't miss this for the world. Saturday arrived with the weight of anticipation. I pulled up to Oakley's McMansion just as Jeremy was getting out of his car. Perfect timing, he said, falling into step beside me. You ready for whatever this is? More ready than she is, I muttered, clutching my purse with its hidden envelope. Inside, Oakley's house was a shrine to her supposed success. All chrome and white surfaces, designer everything. Family photos lined the walls, carefully curated to show her best angles. Jordan, Brian greeted me with his usual warmth. Oak's in the kitchen. She's been cooking all day. She cooks now? Jeremy whispered as we walked through. She orders in and transfers it to her own dishes, I whispered back. Always has. The kitchen was a flurry of activity. Oakley stood at the island, arranging takeout containers' contents onto serving platters while my mother helped. Empty bags from an upscale catering service were poorly hidden in the trash. Jordan, you came. Oakley's smile was bright but didn't reach her eyes. I was just telling Mom about the amazing news. Can't wait to hear it, I said, accepting a glass of wine from Brian. Oh, you're going to love it. It's life-changing. She straightened a platter of what I recognized as the local bistro's signature appetizers. Unlike some people, I believe in growing and advancing. My mother shot me an apologetic look. The doorbell rang again. My father arrived with Guy, who I'd invited as moral support. Oakley's eyebrows raised slightly at his presence. Still hanging out with hospital people? She asked, her tone dripping with condescension. Still pretending you cook? I countered quietly, nodding toward the hidden takeout containers. Her eyes narrowed, but before she could respond, Brian called everyone to the dining room. Before we eat, Oakley announced, standing at the head of the table, I have amazing news to share. She gripped Brian's hand. As you know, we've been looking at the most gorgeous property in the Hamptons. I felt Guy squeeze my knee under the table. And after some very exclusive negotiations, she continued, we are absolutely thrilled to announce... Actually, Brian interrupted, checking his phone with a frown. Honey, I just got an email from our agent. Not now, sweetie. As I was saying, Oak, the house sold. To someone else. The silence that followed was deafening. What? Oakley's voice was sharp. That's impossible. Check again. It sold 2 days ago. The agent says the new owner wants to remain anonymous for now. Oakley's face flushed red. But we had an agreement. We were going to announce... We had a viewing, Oak. We never made an offer. Because they promised to hold it for us. I took a slow sip of wine, watching my sister's perfect facade crack. Well, my father said, clearly trying to salvage the moment. There will be other properties, sweetheart. No. Oakley slammed her hand on the table, making the plates rattle. That was our house. My house. I already told everyone. She stopped, noticing my calm expression. Why aren't you more upset about this? Why would I be upset? Because you're supposed to be happy for me. You're supposed to be jealous. Jeremy choked on his wine. Oak, Brian said softly, maybe we should take a minute. No, this was supposed to be perfect. I was going to show everyone. She trailed off, her carefully constructed image crumbling. Show everyone what? I asked, my voice steady. How successful I am. How much better. She caught herself, but not before our parents exchanged worried glances. Better than who, Oakley? She didn't answer, but her glare said everything. Dinner's getting cold. My mother interjected weakly. You know what's interesting? I said, reaching for my purse. Success isn't always about who shouts the loudest. What's that supposed to mean? It means, I pulled out my phone, pulling up the property photos. Sometimes the quiet ones surprise you. Jordan, Guy warned softly, but I was done being quiet. Remember when you told everyone I was probably going bankrupt? I slid my phone across the table. Funny thing about that, Oakley grabbed the phone, her eyes widening as she scrolled through the familiar photos of her dream house. Her dream house with my name on the deed. This is a joke, she whispered. The closing papers arrived yesterday, I said, pulling the envelope from my purse. Would you like to see them? The room erupted in chaos. Brian was staring at me in disbelief. My father was demanding explanations, and my mother had her head in her hands. But all I could see was Oakley's face, the exact moment she realized her struggling little sister had beaten her at her own game. How? She managed finally. I stood up, smoothing my dress. Maybe we should talk about real achievements. This isn't possible, Oakley kept saying, flipping through the closing papers with trembling hands. You can't afford this. You're a nurse. A nurse who knows how to invest, I replied. You taught me that, remember? All those family dinners where you talked about market trends and property values? Brian leaned over Oakley's shoulder, examining the documents. These are legitimate. She really bought it. But my father started, then stopped, looking at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Jordan, how long have you been planning this? Planning? I laughed. I just saw an investment opportunity and took it. Isn't that what you always praised Oakley for doing? My sister's face had gone from red to white. You did this to spite me. Did I? Or did you just assume nobody else could achieve what you wanted to achieve? Girls, my mother pleaded, please don't fight. We're not fighting, Mom, I said, taking another sip of wine. We're having a business discussion. Isn't that right, Oakley? Jeremy cleared his throat. Maybe we should eat before everything gets cold. How? Oakley demanded, ignoring him. Where did you get the money? You really want to know? I pulled out my phone again, opening my investment portfolio. Every time you mocked my career, I picked up an extra shift. Every time you bragged about your success, I invested more. Do you know how much night shift differential adds up to over 7 years? But your apartment, the bus, is in an up-and-coming neighborhood that's tripled in value since I bought it. And I take the bus because parking at the hospital costs a fortune. It's called being practical, Guy spoke up. Jordan's one of the highest-paid nurses in the trauma department. She's been published in medical journals. That's enough, Oakley snapped. She turned to Brian. Call our lawyer. There has to be a way to contest this. Brian shifted uncomfortably. Oak, we never made an offer. We have no legal grounds to... Then make some. This is our house. No, I said quietly. It's my house. And I think you're having trouble with that because you never thought I could be competition. The room fell silent again. My father was staring at his plate. My mother was close to tears, and Jeremy was trying very hard not to smile. Competition? Oakley laughed, but it sounded hollow. This isn't about competition. This is about you trying to steal my dream. Your dream? I stood up, placing both hands on the table. Let's talk about dreams, Oakley. Let's talk about my graduation ceremony, where you showed up late and talked through my speech. Or the time I got promoted to head trauma nurse, and you told everyone it was cute that I was playing doctor. Or how about last month's reunion? When you tried to humiliate me in front of our entire family? That's different. I was trying to help. Help? Guy interjected. By spreading rumors about her finances? Stay out of this, Oakley snapped. This is family business. He is family, I said firmly. He's been more supportive than you ever were. Brian suddenly stood up. Oak, we need to talk. Now. About what? About the credit card statements I found. About the real reason we couldn't make an offer on the house. The color drained from Oakley's face. Brian, not now. Yes, now. He turned to the rest of us. I'm sorry, everyone. We need a minute. They disappeared into the kitchen, but their heated whispers carried back to the dining room. Should we? My mother gestured vaguely at the food. Actually, I said, gathering my things. I should go. I have contractors meeting me at my new house tomorrow morning to discuss renovations. Jordan. My father said suddenly, his voice rough. Wait. I paused, purse in hand. I'm sorry. We should have paid more attention. To what, Dad? To my achievements? To the fact that I was building something while Oakley was just talking about building something? From the kitchen, Oakley's voice rose. I was going to pay it back. $60,000 in secret credit card debt? Brian shot back. When were you planning to tell me? My mother's hands flew to her mouth. Jeremy whistled low. I think, Guy said, standing up. That's our cue to leave. As we walked to our cars, the sounds of Oakley and Brian's argument followed us into the night air. Jeremy caught up with us in the driveway. That, he said, was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. It's not over, I replied, looking back at the house. This was just the beginning. What do you mean? I smiled, pulling out my keys. The contractors aren't just doing renovations tomorrow. They're doing an assessment for that resort development company. Guy's eyes widened. You're not... Like I said, I learned from the best. Sometimes the biggest deals happen in stages. The next morning, I stood on the private beach of my new property, watching the waves roll in as contractors walked the perimeter. The resort development company's representative, Sarah, stood beside me with a tablet in hand. The location is perfect, she said. Your property is the key piece we need to complete the resort complex. And the offer? She showed me the number on her tablet. It was triple what I'd paid. That's just the starting point, she added. We're also offering a lifetime membership to the resort once it's built, plus... My phone buzzed. Oakley's name flashed on the screen for the 5th time that morning. I declined the call. Everything okay? Sarah asked. Family drama, nothing unusual. I gestured toward the house. Tell me more about your plans for the property. As she launched into details about the resort complex, another call came through, this time from Jeremy. You need to check Instagram, he said when I answered. Oakley's having a meltdown. I pulled up the app. Oakley had posted a series of stories, each more unhinged than the last. The latest showed her crying in her car. Family betrayal is the worst kind. Can't believe my own sister would do this to me. Ms. Wong? Sarah was waiting expectantly. Sorry, what were you saying about the beachfront access? Before she could answer, a familiar Tesla came roaring up the private drive. Oh no, I muttered as Oakley emerged, designer sunglasses hiding what I assumed were puffy eyes. We need to talk, she shouted, marching across the sand. Sarah raised an eyebrow. Should I give you a moment? No need. I turned to face my sister. Oakley, I'm in a business meeting. Business meeting? She laughed hysterically. Is that what you call destroying your family? The contractors paused their work, watching the scene unfold. The only thing being destroyed is your illusion of superiority, I said calmly. Now, if you'll excuse us, Brian's leaving me. That stopped me cold. What? He found out about everything. The credit cards, the shopping, the lies about our investments. She pulled off her sunglasses, revealing mascara-streaked cheeks. He's staying at his brother's house. Are you happy now? Sarah cleared her throat. I can come back another time. No, I said firmly. Oakley's leaving. You can't just... Actually, I can. This is private property. My private property. And you're trespassing. Your property? She gestured wildly at the house. This was supposed to be mine. My dream house, my perfect life. Perfect life? I stepped closer. You mean the one you built on credit cards and lies? The one where you had to put everyone else down to feel superior? I never... Remember my first apartment? You told everyone I lived in a dangerous neighborhood because I couldn't afford better. That neighborhood is now the hottest real estate market in the city. Jordan, or when I got my first promotion. You said nursing was a dead-end job. Well, guess what? While you were maxing out credit cards to keep up appearances, I was investing my dead-end salary. Sarah's tablet pinged. She glanced at it, then at me. Ms. Wong, the board just approved a higher offer. Oakley's eyes darted to the tablet. What offer? None of your business, I said, but Oakley had already snatched the tablet. Her face went pale as she read. A resort complex? You're selling to developers? Maybe. Or maybe I'll keep it and rent it out. Or maybe I'll just let it sit empty. The point is, it's my decision. You can't. I can. And you know what the best part is? I took the tablet back. I learned everything about real estate from you. Every boast, every brag about your investments. I was listening, taking notes, learning. Tears streamed down her face. I'm your sister. Yes, you are. And for years, I watched you succeed while you made sure everyone saw me fail. Now you get to watch me succeed. Ms. Wong? Sarah gestured toward the house. The contractors need your input on the renovation plans. I turned to go, then paused. You know what's ironic, Oakley? If you'd ever bothered to actually be a sister instead of a competitor, we could have done amazing things together. Please, she whispered. Don't do this. Security will escort you out, I said, nodding to the property guards who were already approaching. Don't come back unless you're invited. As I walked away, I heard her call out, Mom and Dad will never forgive you for this. I turned back one last time. Maybe not, but for the first time in my life, I forgive myself for letting you make me feel small. The sound of the waves drowned out her response as I walked toward my house, with Sarah and the contractors. Behind me, I heard the guards politely but firmly escorting Oakley back to her car. Sometimes karma needs a little help, I thought. And sometimes the best revenge is simply succeeding on your own terms. Your mother's called 6 times, Guy said, setting a coffee in front of me in the hospital break room. Jeremy says Oakley's moved back in with your parents. A week had passed since the confrontation at the beach house. I'd been pulling extra shifts to avoid the family drama, but it was catching up to me. Dad left a voicemail, I said, checking my phone. Something about fixing the family and being the bigger person. Are you going to call him back? Before I could answer, my phone lit up with a text from Brian. Can we meet? There's something you need to know. That's new, Guy said, reading over my shoulder. You going to do it? I typed back. Coffee shop across from the hospital. 30 minutes. Brian was already there when I arrived, looking exhausted in a wrinkled suit. Thanks for coming, he said as I sat down. I know things are messy right now. That's one word for it. He pulled out a folder. You need to see these before you make any decisions about the property. Inside were credit card statements, loan documents, and bank records, all with Oakley's name. She's underwater, Brian said quietly. The designer clothes, the fancy cars, the image she created, it's all debt. She was counting on that house to fix everything. How? She was going to use it as collateral for a loan to pay off the credit cards. When that fell through, he ran a hand through his hair. I found out she'd been forging my signature on loan applications. My coffee went cold as I flipped through the documents. The numbers were staggering. Why are you showing me this? Because she's not just destroying herself. She's dragging your parents into it. They're talking about taking out a second mortgage to help her. My phone buzzed. A text from Jeremy. Family emergency meeting at your parents' house tonight. Oakley's idea. You coming? I showed Brian the message. She doesn't know I'm meeting you, he said. But Jordan, be careful. She's desperate. That evening, I pulled up to my parents' house to find it full again, but this time the atmosphere was heavy. Oakley sat on the couch looking smaller without her usual designer outfit and perfect makeup. Jordan, my mother rushed forward. Thank goodness you came. What's this about? It's about family, my father said. About making things right. Oakley stood up, hands clasped in front of her. I've been doing a lot of thinking. About mistakes and consequences. Oakley, please let me finish. She took a shaky breath. I've hurt people, made bad choices, but I want to make it right. Starting with you, Jordan. Jeremy, sitting in the corner, caught my eye and shook his head slightly. I've been terrible to you, Oakley continued. Competitive, cruel, dismissive. And now I'm paying for it. But it's not just me suffering. Mom and Dad are taking out a second mortgage to cover your debts? I interrupted. The room went silent. How did you... My father started. Brian told me everything. I turned to my parents. Did she tell you about the forged loan applications? The maxed out credit cards? Jordan, please. My mother pleaded. She's trying to make amends. No, she's trying to manipulate you into bailing her out. Again. Oakley's facade cracked. You don't understand. I need help. What you need is consequences. We're putting up the house as collateral, my father said, just until she gets back on her feet. Dad, no. You can't risk everything you've worked for. She's our daughter. So am I. The words echoed in the sudden silence. But you never mortgaged your house when I was starting out. You never rushed to rescue me when things were hard. That's different, my mother said weakly. Why? Because I didn't cry and manipulate? Because I solved my own problems? Oakley stepped forward. If you sell the beach house to those developers, I could... There it is, I laughed. The real reason for this family meeting. You want my house? It could save all of us. Pay off my debts, save Mom and Dad's house. Your debts, not ours, not mine. I grabbed my purse. And that house? It's not for sale. Not to the developers, and certainly not to fix your mistakes. Jordan, wait. My father called as I headed for the door. I turned back one last time. You know what the difference is between Oakley and me? I learned from my mistakes. She just expects everyone else to fix them. The door closed behind me, cutting off their protests. In my car, I pulled out my phone and called Sarah. About that resort offer, I said. I've made my decision. 2 weeks later, I stood in the newly renovated living room of the beach house, watching the sunset through floor-to-ceiling windows. The sound of cars pulling up the driveway broke the peaceful moment. They're here, Guy said, adjusting the appetizer trays we'd set out. Ready? Jeremy asked, handing me a glass of champagne. I nodded. Time to end this. The doorbell rang. I'd invited the entire family, parents, Oakley, Brian, cousins, everyone, for what they thought was a housewarming party. They didn't know about the papers sitting on my desk, waiting to be signed. My mother entered first, clutching her purse like a shield. Oh, Jordan, it's beautiful. The renovations turned out perfectly, I said, watching Oakley's face as she took in the space that could have been hers. Brian hung back, avoiding his wife's gaze. They still weren't living together, according to Jeremy's updates. Well, my father said, clearing his throat, this is quite something. It is, isn't it? I gestured for everyone to sit. But before we celebrate, there's something we need to discuss. Oakley's head snapped up. You're selling to the developers? Not exactly. I picked up the folder from my desk. I've created a trust. A what? My mother asked. A family trust. The house will be its main asset. I started distributing copies of the paperwork. I'm transferring ownership to the trust with specific conditions. Brian leaned forward, reading quickly. This is unexpected. The house will serve as a family vacation property, available to all of us on a rotating schedule. I watched their faces as they read. But there are rules. Rules? Oakley's voice was small. First, the house can never be used as collateral for loans or sold without unanimous consent from all trust members. Second, usage rights are dependent on financial responsibility. Meaning what? My father asked. Meaning anyone who wants to use the house must provide proof of financial stability. No outstanding debts, no legal issues, no hidden credit cards. Oakley's hands trembled as she held the papers. Additionally, I continued, I've arranged for financial counseling services, fully paid for by the trust, available to any family member who needs it. Jordan, my mother started, tears in her eyes. I'm not finished. The trust also includes a scholarship fund for future generations of our family, specifically for medical and nursing education. The room was silent as my words sank in. Why? Oakley finally asked. Because despite everything, we're family, and families should lift each other up, not tear each other down. I met her eyes, but they also shouldn't enable destructive behavior. The counseling services, Brian said slowly. That's your condition for Oakley, isn't it? I nodded. Complete the program, get your finances in order, and you'll have equal access to the house. The same rules apply to everyone. And Mom and Dad's mortgage? Oakley asked. Will remain their responsibility, but the trust includes provisions for emergency family assistance, with strict oversight and repayment terms. My father stood up abruptly. I need some air. Dad, no, let me speak. He turned to face me. All these years I thought. He shook his head. I was wrong about you, Jordan. So wrong. We both were, my mother added, wiping her eyes. Oakley hadn't moved, still staring at the papers. I don't deserve this. No, you don't, I agreed. But that's not the point. The point is giving all of us, a chance to do better. The financial counseling, she said quietly. When can I start? First session is scheduled for Monday, if you want it. She nodded, unable to speak. There's one more thing, I said, pulling out a final document. Brian, this is for you. He took the paper, eyes widening. This is evidence of the forged loan applications. What you do with it is up to you. The room held its breath as Brian stared at the document, then at Oakley. Finally, he tore it in half. Everyone deserves a second chance, he said, but only one. Oakley burst into tears. Now, I said, raising my glass, who's ready for that housewarming party? As the tension broke and people began to mingle, Jeremy pulled me aside. You planned this all along, didn't you? The trust, the counseling, everything? I smiled, watching my family move through the space. My mother examining the kitchen, my father out on the deck. Oakley and Brian talking quietly in a corner. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all, I said. Sometimes it's being the person they never thought you could be. And sometimes, Guy added, joining us, it's showing them who you've been all along. Through the windows, the sun had set completely, leaving the beach in darkness. But inside, the house glowed with new beginnings and second chances. The autumn breeze carried the scent of salt and coffee as I sat on the beach house deck, reviewing financial reports. The trust's first quarterly meeting was about to begin, and I wanted everything perfect. Need help with those? Oakley appeared, carrying 2 mugs. She looked different, simpler, but somehow more genuine without the designer facade. Thanks. I accepted the coffee. How was your counseling session? Good. Hard, but good. She sat down. Brian and I are talking about moving into a smaller place, something within our actual budget. That's great. It's weird, actually living within my means, but also freeing. She gestured at the papers. How's the trust doing? See for yourself. I handed her the reports. Your credit score is up 50 points. 62, actually. She smiled slightly. I check it obsessively now, part of the recovery program. The sliding door opened as our parents arrived, followed by Jeremy and Guy. Ready for the first official meeting? Jeremy asked, setting up his laptop. As the trust's designated record keeper, he'd taken his role seriously. Before we start, my father said, I have something to say. Everyone turned to look at him. He pulled out an envelope. The bank approved our refinancing application. We're not taking the second mortgage. Dad, no, Jordan. You were right. We can't keep enabling destructive patterns. He looked at Oakley. For any of us. Oakley nodded, blinking back tears. Now, my mother said, pulling out her own folder. Shall we discuss the holiday rotation schedule? As they debated who would get the house for Thanksgiving, I noticed Brian hanging back, watching Oakley with cautious hope. The counselor thinks we might be ready to move back in together, Oakley said quietly, following my gaze. If we stick to our new budget. And the shopping? I unsubscribed from all the luxury marketing emails, deleted my shopping apps. She laughed softly. Turns out I don't need $400 sunglasses to be happy. All right, everyone, Jeremy called. First order of business, the scholarship fund. Actually, I interrupted, there's something else first. I pulled out my phone, showing them the email I'd received that morning. The resort developers made another offer. The deck went silent. Jordan, my mother started. You're not considering... No, but look at the last paragraph. They leaned in as I read aloud. In lieu of purchase, we propose a partnership. The trust maintains ownership while we develop and manage the adjacent properties. Your beach house would be the crown jewel of the coastline, increasing in value as the area develops. That's brilliant, Brian said, his real estate experience showing. The trust gets all the benefits of development without losing control. It's your decision, Oakley said softly. You earned this. No, I replied. It's our decision. That's what the trust is for. My father cleared his throat. I vote yes, for the Future Generations Fund. One by one, they voted. When it came to Oakley, she paused. I used to think success meant having everything I wanted, she said. Now I know it means being worthy of what you have. She looked at me. Yes. Then it's unanimous. Jeremy typed rapidly. I'll update the trust documents. Speaking of documents, Guy said, pulling out a newspaper. Show them, Jordan. I took the paper, opening to the healthcare section. There, under medical innovation, was a photo of me and my trauma team, highlighting our new emergency protocol that had reduced critical response times by 30%. My little sister, Oakley said, but this time there was no condescension in her voice, only pride. Not so little anymore, my father added. As the meeting continued, I watched my family, really watched them. My parents learning to treat their daughters equally. Brian and Oakley rebuilding their marriage on honesty instead of appearances. Jeremy taking his role as family mediator seriously. Last item, Jeremy announced. The trust's mission statement needs approval. I stood up. I have a suggestion. Everyone turned to listen. The Wong Family Trust exists not to create wealth, but to create value. Not to enable, but to empower. Not to divide, but to unite. Through financial responsibility, educational opportunity, and shared experiences, we build a legacy of strength, wisdom, and genuine success. Oakley wiped her eyes. It's perfect. As the others nodded in agreement, I looked out at the ocean. The waves rolled in steadily, unchanging yet always changing, like family itself. Well, Guy said, raising his coffee mug, to genuine success. To family, I corrected, raising mine. To both, Oakley added softly. Because sometimes they're the same thing. The sun broke through the clouds, warming the deck as we clinked our mugs together, the sound mixing with the waves. A perfect harmony of endings and beginnings, of lessons learned and bridges rebuilt, of revenge transformed into redemption.
I never thought I'd be the kind of person to plot revenge against family. But watching my sister-in-law Grace mock my 8-year-old daughter's adoption papers at our annual family gathering changed everything. My name is Gianna, and until last Sunday, I prided myself on being the level-headed one in the family. The one who kept the peace, who always found the middle ground. That was before Grace decided to turn our family dinner into a circus of cruelty. "Oh, look what I found while cleaning the study!" Grace's voice rang across the dining room, waving a familiar manila envelope. My heart stopped when I recognized Iris's adoption papers. Isn't it fascinating how you can just buy a child these days? The room fell silent. My daughter Iris, who had been showing her cousin her new art project, froze mid-sentence. Her small shoulders tensed, and I watched her bright smile crumble. "Grace," my brother Leandro warned, but she was already on a roll. "I mean, really, Gianna? Couldn't you have at least found one that looks more like us? The family photos are going to look so diverse now." I stood up so quickly my chair scraped against the hardwood floor. "Give me those papers." My voice was steady, but my hands shook as I reached across the table. "Oh, come on, I'm just trying to understand the process." Grace's perfectly manicured fingers tightened around the envelope. "Dad, don't you think it's important to know these things? For family records?" My father-in-law Bryce shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "Perhaps this isn't the best time." "The best time was never," I snapped, snatching the envelope from Grace's hands. "These are private documents, and you had no right to go through them." "Private? We're family!" Grace laughed, that high-pitched artificial sound that always set my teeth on edge. "Besides, I think we all have a right to know how our newest addition came to be." I turned to see Iris quietly slipping out of her chair, her art project forgotten on the table. Before I could reach her, she was running up the stairs, her small feet thundering against each step like my racing heart. "Iris, honey," I called after her, but the only response was the slam of her bedroom door. "Now look what you've done." Leandro finally stood up to confront his wife. "Grace, that was completely inappropriate. Oh, please, the child needs to learn to take a joke. Right, Taylor?" Taylor, my business partner, who I'd invited to join us, met my eyes across the table. Her expression hardened. "Actually, Grace, I think you're the one who needs to learn something." "Excuse me?" Grace's perfectly plucked eyebrows shot up. "You heard me?" Taylor stood, gathering her things. "Gianna, I'll call you tomorrow about the Henderson contract." As Taylor left, an idea began forming in my mind. The Henderson contract, our biggest deal of the year. The one Grace's company had been desperately trying to land for months. "I should check on Iris," I said, but Grace's voice stopped me. "Don't coddle her so much, Gianna. This is exactly why adopted children end up so sensitive." I turned slowly, meeting her smug expression. "You know what, Grace? You're right about one thing. We are family, and family should always look out for each other's best interests." She missed my meaning completely, raising her wine glass in mock toast. "Finally, you're speaking my language." Later that night, after I'd calmed Iris down and tucked her into bed with extra hugs and reassurances, I sat in my home office, staring at my phone. Taylor's message blinked on the screen. "Tell me you're not really considering helping her company with the Henderson deal." I typed back, "Oh, I'm going to help her, all right. I'm going to help her right into a trap of her own making." "Gianna, what are you planning?" I looked at the photo on my desk, Iris on adoption day, her smile brighter than the sun. Then, at the family photo beside it, Grace's artificial smile mocking me, even in print. "Just a little lesson in family values," I replied. "Are you in?" Taylor's response was immediate. "Always, but be careful. You know what they say about revenge?" I did know. But as I heard Iris's muffled sobs through the wall, I realized some lessons were worth the price of teaching. Grace wanted to talk about family? Fine. I'd show her exactly what it means to mess with mine. My phone buzzed again. Leandro. "I'm so sorry about Grace. She was out of line." "Don't worry about it," I typed back. "Everything's going to work out exactly as it should." I closed my laptop and smiled. Grace had no idea that her little power play at dinner was about to become the biggest mistake of her life. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served with a smile and a helping hand right before you pull the rug out from under someone's feet. Are you absolutely sure about this? Taylor paced my office, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. Once we start, there's no going back. I adjusted my laptop screen, showing her the email I'd drafted. Grace's company is struggling with the Henderson contract. They need expertise in sustainable manufacturing, exactly what we specialize in. And you're going to offer that expertise through a shell company? Taylor raised an eyebrow. That's devious. I prefer strategic. I hit send and watched the email disappear into cyberspace. Besides, she's the one who's been cutting corners on environmental compliance. I'm just going to help her expose herself. My phone buzzed, Grace's name flashing on the screen. I put it on speaker. Gianna, you'll never believe what just happened. Her voice dripped with excitement. This amazing consulting firm reached out about the Henderson deal. They specialize in exactly what we need. Really? I shared a knowing look with Taylor. That's wonderful, Grace. What perfect timing. I know. And get this. They're offering rates way below market value. It's like the universe is finally aligning in my favor. Taylor had to stuff her fist in her mouth to keep from laughing. That's fantastic, I said, keeping my voice neutral. Have you vetted them thoroughly? Oh, please. I know what I'm doing. Besides, we need this win. Leandro's been worried about the company's finances lately. I leaned forward. Has he? That doesn't sound like my brother. Well, Grace hesitated. He doesn't know exactly how tight things are. But this deal will fix everything. Hey, why don't you come to the meeting tomorrow? You've always had a good eye for these things. I'd love to. I muted the phone and grinned at Taylor. What time? After setting the details, I hung up and pulled out a fresh notepad. Phase 1, complete. Now we just need to get her to trust our consulting firm completely. Speaking of which, Taylor sat down across from me. Iris asked me something interesting yesterday. My pen stopped moving. What? She wanted to know if being adopted meant she wasn't really part of the family. The pen snapped in my hand, ink staining my fingers. She what? Don't worry, I told her that family isn't about blood, it's about love, and that you moved heaven and earth to make her your daughter. I closed my eyes, Grace's mocking voice echoing in my head. This ends now. No more playing nice. The next day, I arrived at Grace's office early. Her assistant led me to the conference room, where Grace was already waiting, practically bouncing with excitement. This is it! She spread papers across the table. Look at their proposal, it's perfect! I examined the documents I'd helped create, noting all the subtle traps we'd laid. Have you checked their references? Of course, all excellent. Though, she frowned. A few were hard to verify. That's concerning. I kept my face carefully worried. Want me to have my team look into them? Would you? That would be amazing. Grace squeezed my arm. See? This is why we're family, always looking out for each other. The words hit like a punch to the gut. Yes, family should always protect each other. Speaking of which, how's Leandro? Busy as usual. He's been asking questions about some missing environmental compliance reports, but I'll handle it. I made a mental note. Missing reports? Oh, you know how it is. Sometimes paperwork gets lost in the shuffle. She waved dismissively. But once we land this deal, we can fix all that. The meeting went exactly as planned. Grace fell for every suggestion our fake consulting firm made, eagerly signing the preliminary agreement. Later, back in my office, Taylor reviewed the recording. She admitted to missing compliance reports. That's gold. It's not enough. I pulled up Grace's company financials on my screen. We need her to reveal where those reports went and why. Gianna. Taylor's voice softened. I know you're doing this for Iris, but are you sure this is the best way? I opened my drawer and pulled out a drawing Iris had made. A family portrait where she'd drawn herself smaller than everyone else, standing slightly apart. You didn't see her face, Taylor. The way she crumpled when Grace... I took a deep breath. Some people only learn when they lose everything they value. Grace values her reputation and her business, so that's what we're going to take. And Leandro? He's your brother. He'll thank me when he finds out what his wife's been hiding. I turned back to my computer. Now let's prepare for phase 2. Grace wants to talk about real family. Let's show her what real family does when one of their own is threatened. My phone buzzed with a text from Grace. Thank you for today. You're the best sister-in-law ever. I smiled and typed back, always happy to help family. The key to sustainable manufacturing is documentation, I explained, watching Grace frantically take notes across her desk. Every decision, every adjustment, every shortcut needs to be recorded. Shortcut? Grace's pen paused. What do you mean? Oh, you know. I kept my voice casual. The kind of things you might have done to keep costs down. Our consulting firm needs to know everything to help protect you. She shifted uncomfortably. I'm not sure what you mean. Grace? I leaned forward. We're family, you can trust me. Besides, I've seen how these big contracts work. Everyone cuts corners sometimes. Her shoulders relaxed slightly. Well, there might have been a few creative solutions to some regulatory requirements. Like the missing compliance reports? Those weren't exactly missing. Grace lowered her voice. More like modified. The real ones would have killed our chances with any major contract. Got you. I pressed record on my phone, hidden in my jacket pocket. Modified how? Before she could answer, her office door burst open. Camilla, Grace's friend and business advisor, stormed in. Grace, we need to talk. Now. Her eyes darted to me. Privately. Whatever you need to say, you can say in front of Gianna. She's helping us with the Henderson deal. Camilla crossed her arms. That's exactly what we need to discuss. I've been looking into this consulting firm, and something doesn't add up. My heart raced, but I kept my expression neutral. What seems to be the problem? Their registration details are too recent. Their client list is impressive but impossible to verify properly. And their rates? Camilla shook her head. Nobody legitimate offers services this cheap. You're being paranoid, Grace dismissed. They're exactly what we need right now. Are they? Camilla pulled out her tablet. Because I've been comparing their proposal to standard industry practices and... Actually, I interrupted, standing up. I should get going. Iris has a school presentation today. Grace's face twisted slightly at my daughter's name. Oh, yes. How is the little addition doing? Thriving. I smiled coldly. She made the honor roll again. Blood clearly isn't everything, is it? I left them arguing, my recorded conversation safely captured. In my car, I called Taylor. We have a problem, I said. Camilla's getting suspicious. How much does she know? Not enough yet, but she's digging. We need to accelerate the plan. The audit team is ready whenever you give the word. I started my car. Not yet. First, I need to make sure Grace implements all our consulting firm's suggestions. Once she's fully committed. Then we spring the trap, Taylor finished. But Gianna, she mentioned modified compliance reports. That's serious fraud. I know. I pulled into the school parking lot, watching kids pour out of the building. That's exactly what we need. I spotted Iris, clutching her presentation board, her face lighting up when she saw me. As she ran to the car, Grace's words from the family dinner echoed in my mind. Couldn't you have found one that looks more like us? Mom! Iris jumped into the back seat. I got an A+ on my family tree presentation. That's amazing, sweetie. Tell me everything. Well, her smile faltered slightly. Some kids asked why I didn't put my real parents on it. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. And what did you say? I told them you are my real parent, just like you always say. I met her eyes in the rearview mirror. That's right, and don't let anyone tell you different. Back at the office, I found an urgent email from our fake consulting firm to Grace, suggesting a complete overhaul of her environmental compliance systems. The kind of overhaul that would expose every shortcut and modified report. My phone buzzed with a text from Grace. The consultants want access to all our documentation. Is that normal? Absolutely, I replied. It's standard procedure. Remember, this is to protect you. I don't know. Camilla thinks it's suspicious. Grace, do you want this contract or not? Because I can tell you right now, Henderson won't sign without proper compliance verification. 3 dots appeared as she typed, disappeared, then reappeared. Finally. You're right, I'll have everything sent over tomorrow. I forwarded the exchange to Taylor, adding, Phase 3 begins tomorrow. Have the audit team ready. This is going to destroy her company, Taylor replied, and possibly her marriage when Leandro finds out. I looked at the family photo on my desk, at Grace's smug smile as she stood apart from Iris in the group shot, then at Iris's A-plus presentation, where she'd proudly written Mom under my name in glittering letters. Some lessons, I typed back, are worth the cost of teaching. The Henderson contract is practically in the bag, Grace announced, raising her wine glass at the family dinner table. And it's all thanks to our amazing consultants. Well, and Gianna's advice, of course. I smiled tightly, watching Leandro beam at his wife. My brother had no idea what was coming. That's wonderful, honey, he said, squeezing her hand. I was starting to worry about those financial reports, but this should fix everything. What financial reports? Bryce, our father-in-law, looked up from his roast beef. Oh, nothing important, Grace waved dismissively. Just some routine paperwork. Isn't that right, Gianna? Actually, I set down my fork. I'd love to hear more about these reports, Leandro. Grace's fork clattered against her plate. This really isn't dinner conversation. But we're family, I echoed her words from weeks ago. Shouldn't we share everything? Mom, Iris tugged at my sleeve. Can I be excused? I want to finish my science project. Of course, sweetie. I watched her leave, noting how Grace's eyes followed her with barely concealed disdain. Speaking of family, Grace said once Iris was gone, I've been thinking about expanding ours, a natural addition this time. The room fell silent. My wine glass froze halfway to my lips. Grace, Leandro warned. What? I'm just saying it would be nice to have a child of our own blood, someone to really carry on the family legacy. I stood up so quickly my chair scraped backward. Excuse me, I need some air. Outside on the patio, I pulled out my phone and dialed Taylor. Move up the audit, I hissed. I want it done tomorrow. Gianna, wait. No more waiting. Did you see what the consultants found in her documentation? Yes, but then you know she's been falsifying environmental reports for years. She's been dumping waste illegally, Taylor, while preaching about family legacy. The patio door slid open. Camilla stepped out, phone in hand. I need to go, I whispered, hanging up. Interesting call? Camilla asked, lighting a cigarette. Just business. Funny thing about business. She took a long drag. I've been doing more research on that consulting firm. Would you believe their office address leads to an empty warehouse? My pulse quickened. Really? That is strange. Very. Almost as strange as their email server being routed through your company's IP address. I met her gaze steadily. Are you accusing me of something? Not yet, but I will say this. Whatever game you're playing with Grace, be careful. She's not as stupid as you think. No, I agreed. Just cruel. Back inside, Grace was showing Bryce something on her phone. See? The consultants say our new compliance system is perfect. We'll pass any audit with flying colors. If only she knew the audit team was already in place, ready to expose every falsified document, every illegal dump, every corner cut. Gianna, Leandro caught me in the hallway as I went to check on Iris. Can we talk? He led me to his study, closing the door. Something's wrong with Grace's company. The numbers don't add up. What do you mean? Environmental compliance costs are way too low, and there are these mysterious consulting fees. He ran a hand through his hair. I think someone's been cooking the books. I touched his arm. Have you confronted her? I tried. She says I'm paranoid, that everything will be fine once the Henderson deal closes. He looked at me pleadingly. You've been helping her with that, right? Everything's legitimate? The weight of the USB drive in my pocket, filled with evidence of Grace's crimes, felt like a ton of bricks. Leandro, I started, but Grace's voice cut through the door. Darling, your father's leaving. As we walked back to the dining room, Grace caught my arm. By the way, the consultants want to meet tomorrow. Something about finalizing the compliance verification? Can't wait, I smiled. Later that night, as I tucked Iris into bed, she asked, Mom, what's a natural addition? My heart clenched. Nothing you need to worry about, sweetheart. Is it because I'm not really family? I sat on her bed, pulling her close. You are really family. More real than some people who share our blood. My phone buzzed. A text from Taylor. Audit team in position for tomorrow. Last chance to back out. I looked at Iris, already drifting off to sleep, then typed back. No backing out. Some people need to learn that real family protects their own, and some lessons can only be taught through consequences. Tomorrow, Grace would learn exactly what those consequences looked like. The conference room felt like a powder keg waiting to explode. Grace sat at the head of the table, beaming at the consulting team, actually undercover auditors I'd hired. Camilla lurked in the corner, her eyes narrow with suspicion. These compliance reports are impressive, the lead auditor said, shuffling through Grace's documents. Almost too perfect, wouldn't you say? Grace's smile flickered. What do you mean? Well, for instance, these waste disposal numbers. He slid a paper across the table. They're significantly lower than industry standard. We're very efficient, Grace said quickly. Right, Gianna? I kept my face neutral. The numbers do seem unusual. Unusual? Camilla stepped forward. Try impossible. I've been running these figures all night. My phone buzzed. A text from Taylor. Environmental Protection Agency team in position. Give the signal. Grace, I said carefully, is there something you want to tell us about these reports? What are you implying? She stood up, hands flat on the table. I thought you were here to help. I am helping. I pulled out a USB drive. By exposing the truth before someone else does. The door burst open. Leandro walked in, his face ashen. Grace, we need to talk. Now. I'm in a meeting. About the toxic waste dump they just found behind our warehouse. The one that matches our chemical signatures perfectly. The room went dead silent. Grace's face drained of color. What toxic waste dump? She whispered. Don't. Leandro slammed a newspaper on the table. The EPA is outside right now. They have proof, Grace. Years of illegal dumping, falsified reports, everything. This is ridiculous, Grace turned to me. Gianna, tell them. You've seen our reports. Yes, I stood slowly. I have, including the real ones you tried to hide. Understanding dawned in her eyes. You did this? No, Grace. You did this. I just made sure the truth came out. The consulting firm, Camilla breathed. It was you all along. Grace lunged across the table, scattering papers. You vindictive bitch. This is about Iris, isn't it? Your precious adopted daughter. Mrs. Phillips? A stern voice came from the doorway. 2 EPA agents stood there, badges displayed. We need you to come with us. This is a mistake. Grace backed away. Leandro, tell them I would never... Save it. Leandro's voice cracked. I found the offshore accounts, Grace. The bribes to inspection officials. Everything. As the agents led Grace away, she turned to me one last time. Family is supposed to protect each other. Yes, I agreed. That's exactly what I'm doing. The next few hours were chaos. Reporters swarmed the building. Leandro disappeared into meetings with lawyers. I sat in my office watching it unfold on the news when Taylor rushed in. Gianna, we have a problem. Grace made bail. Already? Her father paid it. But that's not the worst part. Taylor handed me her phone. She's been texting Iris. My blood ran cold as I read the messages. Ask your mom what really makes a family. Ask her why she destroyed ours. I grabbed my keys. I need to get to Iris's school. Wait! Taylor caught my arm. There's more. Bryce is calling an emergency family meeting tonight. He's threatening to contest Iris's adoption. He can't do that. He's claiming you're an unfit mother, using your revenge plot as evidence. I sank into my chair, the weight of everything crashing down. I never thought they'd go after Iris. What are you going to do? My phone rang. Leandro's number. Gianna. His voice was rough. Did you really set all this up? The fake consulting firm, the audit, everything? Yes. A long pause. Why didn't you just tell me what Grace was doing? Would you have believed me? He sighed. No, probably not. But now they're trying to take Iris away. My own father is... I won't let them, I cut him off. I don't care what it takes. Be careful, sis. Grace is... She's not thinking clearly. She's talking about exposing everything you've done. I looked at the family photo on my desk, at Iris's bright smile. Let her try. She wanted to talk about real family? Fine. Let's show everyone exactly what that means. After hanging up, I turned to Taylor. Get me everything we have on Bryce. If they want to play dirty, they'll learn I'm just getting started. Gianna? Taylor hesitated. Are you sure? This could get ugly. I picked up my keys again. It already is. But I'm going to make damn sure Iris knows what real family looks like. The kind that fights for you, not against you. My phone buzzed one last time. Grace. You'll regret this. I typed back. No, Grace. You already do. The family meeting erupted into chaos before it even began. I walked into Bryce's living room with Iris holding my hand, only to find Grace already there. Mascara streaked down her face. How dare you bring her here? Grace pointed at Iris. This is a family matter. She is family. I stepped in front of my daughter protectively. More than you've ever been. Bryce stood from his leather armchair. Gianna, what you've done to Grace's company. What I've done? I pulled out my phone. Should we play the recording of Grace admitting to illegal dumping? Or maybe we should discuss your role in covering it up. His face reddened. That's preposterous. Really? I turned to Leandro. Show him what you found, brother. Leandro reluctantly pulled out a folder. Dad, your signature is on these inspection waivers. You knew what Grace was doing. Mom? Iris tugged at my sleeve. What's happening? Before I could answer, Grace lunged forward. What's happening is your mother destroyed everything. She pretended to help me while setting me up. Like you pretended to accept Iris while plotting to contest her adoption, I shot back. The room fell silent. Leandro's head snapped up. What? Oh, didn't Grace tell you? I pulled out another document. Your wife and father have been meeting with lawyers to challenge my fitness as a mother. It's for the good of the family, Bryce thundered. This vendetta of yours proves you're unstable. Unstable? I laughed coldly. Let's talk about stability. Let's talk about how you've been embezzling from your own company's pension fund to cover Grace's environmental violations. Bryce stumbled backward. How did you... I have proof of everything. I set a thick folder on the coffee table. Every bribe, every falsified report, every illegal transaction. Would you like to see what the pension board will make of this? You wouldn't, Grace whispered. Try me. Mom, please. Iris's voice trembled. Can we go home? Grace sneered. Yes. Run away with your bought and paid for daughter. Enough! Leandro slammed his hand on the table. Grace, what the hell is wrong with you? What's wrong with me? She destroyed our company. No, you destroyed it when you started dumping toxic waste. He ran his hands through his hair. And now you're trying to take a child away from her mother? She's not her real mother! I am her real mother! I shouted. I was there for every nightmare, every triumph, every moment while you were busy poisoning the groundwater for profit. Suddenly, Camilla burst through the front door. Grace, we have a bigger problem. The EPA found more dumps. They're talking criminal charges. Grace's legs gave out, and she collapsed onto the sofa. This can't be happening. Oh, it's happening. I pulled out my phone. And in about 10 minutes, the pension board will receive an anonymous tip about their missing funds. Unless what? Bryce demanded. Unless you both back off. Drop this adoption nonsense. Sign over your company shares to Leandro. And Grace? I met her tear-filled eyes. You're going to publicly apologize to Iris. Never. Mom, Iris stepped forward, her small voice steady. It's okay. We don't need their apology. The room stilled. In that moment, my 8-year-old daughter showed more grace than any of the adults. You're right, sweetie. I took her hand. We don't. Leandro, you have everything you need to handle this legally? He nodded, still glaring at his wife. Every document. The EPA's lawyers are already preparing the case. Good. I turned to leave, but Grace's voice stopped me. Wait, you can't just walk away. You've ruined everything. No, Grace. You ruined everything the moment you decided my daughter wasn't good enough for your precious family. I looked at Bryce. The pension board gets their tip in 8 minutes. Tick-tock. Dad, Leandro pleaded, do the right thing, for once. Bryce's shoulders sagged. Fine, we'll drop everything, just don't send that tip. Smart choice. I guided Iris toward the door. Oh, and Grace? The next time you want to talk about what makes a real family, remember this moment. Remember who stood by you and who exposed your crimes. In the car, Iris was quiet for a long moment. Then, Mom? Are we still family? Even without them? I pulled over, turning to face her. We're the best kind of family, the kind that chooses each other every single day. My phone buzzed. Taylor. EPA wants to meet tomorrow. They're offering Grace a deal. Let her take it, I typed back. We've won what matters. I looked at Iris in the rearview mirror, her face peaceful for the first time in weeks. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying your enemies. Sometimes it's showing them exactly what they'll never have. Real, unconditional love. The EPA conference room felt smaller than it should have, with Grace sitting across from me, her designer outfit replaced by something surprisingly humble. Leandro sat between us, legal papers spread across the table. The terms are simple, the EPA lawyer stated. Full cooperation, immediate cleanup of all contaminated sites, and a public admission of wrongdoing. Grace's hands trembled as she reached for her water glass. And in return? Reduced charges, no jail time, but significant fines and community service. Take the deal, Grace, Leandro urged. It's more than fair considering what you did. She turned to me, eyes red-rimmed. I suppose you're enjoying this? Actually, no. I slid a folder across the table. That's why I brought this. What is it? A job offer, in Leandro's restructured company, under strict supervision, of course. The room fell silent. Even the EPA lawyer looked surprised. Why? Grace whispered. After everything I did? What I said about Iris? Because despite everything, you're still family, and family gives second chances. I leaned forward. But make no mistake, this is your only one. The position, Leandro added, would be in environmental compliance. You'll be responsible for fixing what you broke. Grace's laugh was hollow. How poetic. It's more than you deserve, I said flatly. But Iris taught me something important last night. What's that? She asked me what makes someone worthy of forgiveness, not for their sake, but for our own peace. The door opened and Taylor walked in with another stack of documents. The press is outside. They want statements from everyone. Grace's face paled. I can't. Yes, you can. I stood up. You're going to walk out there and tell the truth. All of it, including what you did to keep your illegal dumping hidden. They'll crucify me. Maybe, but it's better than letting them crucify Leandro's company. Or have you forgotten it's his legacy too? She looked at her husband, really looked at him, perhaps for the first time in years. I'm sorry, she whispered. I got so caught up in profits and power. Save it for the cameras, Taylor said, checking her watch. They're waiting. As we walked toward the press conference, Grace grabbed my arm. Wait, I need to say something else. Make it quick. I was wrong about Iris. Her voice cracked. The way she handled everything with such dignity. She's more family than I ever was. Yes, she is. I pulled my arm free. And if you ever try to hurt her again, I won't. She straightened her shoulders. I'd like to tell her that myself, if you'll let me. The press conference was brutal. Grace confessed everything, her voice steady, even as cameras flashed and reporters shouted questions. When she finished, Leandro announced the company's restructuring, with me as a major shareholder and Grace in her new compliance role. Afterward, in my office, Taylor poured us both a drink. Are you sure about this? Giving her another chance? No, I admitted. But Iris is sure. And sometimes children see things more clearly than we do. My phone buzzed. A text from Grace. Can I come see Iris tomorrow? I owe her more than an apology. I showed the message to Taylor. What do you think? I think you're either the most forgiving person I know or the scariest long-game player ever. Maybe both. I typed back, "Tomorrow after school, but I'll be there the whole time." That evening, I found Iris in her room, working on a new family tree project. "What's this one for?" I asked, sitting beside her. "It's different from the school one." She pointed to various branches. "See? This is where I put people who choose to be family, not just who's born into it." I noticed she'd added a small branch with Grace's name, marked with a question mark. "Why the question mark, sweetie?" "Because she's trying to change, right? Like in my books, when the mean person learns to be good." I hugged her tight, marveling at her wisdom. Sometimes people surprise us, but we have to be careful. "I know, Mom. Trust has to be earned, like how you earned being my mom by choosing me and loving me every day." My phone buzzed again. "Leandro, Grace is really trying. Thank you for giving her this chance." I looked at Iris's family tree, at all the people she'd marked as chosen family, and replied, "Sometimes the strongest families are the ones we build ourselves, one chance at a time." Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Grace would have to prove herself worthy of this second chance. But tonight, watching Iris carefully color in her unique family tree, I knew we'd made the right choice. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about giving them the opportunity to destroy their old selves and rebuild something better. "Ready?" I asked Iris as we pulled up to the community center. "Ready." She clutched her presentation folder. "Do you think Aunt Grace will really come?" "She promised she would." I checked my phone. No cancellation messages. Inside, the Environmental Awareness Fair was already buzzing with activity. Iris's display about corporate responsibility and family legacy stood proudly among the other presentations. "There she is," Iris pointed to Grace, who was setting up her own booth about the importance of proper waste management. The irony wasn't lost on me. Grace looked different, her designer clothes replaced with practical business wear, her face softer somehow. When she saw us, she straightened up. "You made it," she said, fidgeting with her name badge. "I wasn't sure." "Iris wanted you here," I replied simply. "Can I show you my presentation, Aunt Grace?" Iris asked, bouncing on her toes. Grace's eyes welled up at Aunt Grace. "I'd love that." As Iris led her to the display, Taylor appeared beside me. "The press is here. Ready to make it official?" I nodded, watching Grace listen intently as Iris explained her project about how businesses can protect both profits and the environment. Leandro joined us, adjusting his tie. "The merger paperwork is ready. You sure about this?" "Positive." I squeezed his arm. "Your wife has earned it." The announcement podium was set up, microphones ready. I took my place, facing the crowd of reporters and community members. 6 months ago, we uncovered serious environmental violations that shook our family and our business community, I began. Today, we're announcing something different. The merger of our companies under a new mission, proving that profit and responsibility can coexist. Grace stepped forward, right on cue. "As the new head of environmental compliance, I've learned firsthand the cost of putting profits over people. But more importantly," she looked at Iris, "I've learned what real family values mean." Cameras flashed as we signed the merger documents. Grace's company, now clean and compliant, would become part of our larger corporation, with both of us at the helm of different departments. "Mom!" Iris called out. "The judges are coming!" We watched as the science fair judges approached Iris's display. Grace stood beside her, helping her explain the complex charts she'd created showing the relationship between corporate ethics and family values. "She's amazing," Grace whispered to me. "I was so wrong about her, about everything." "Yes, you were." I kept my voice low. "But you're making it right." "First place in the junior division," the head judge announced, "goes to Iris Patterson." The room erupted in applause. Grace was clapping harder than anyone, tears streaming down her face. Later, as we packed up Iris's winning display, Bryce appeared. He looked older, humbled by recent events. "Quite a presentation," he said gruffly. "The part about family especially." Iris beamed at him. "Want to see my favorite part, Grandpa?" She pulled out her family tree, the special version she'd created. There under her branch were all of us. Me, Leandro, Taylor, and now Grace and Bryce, each marked with small green leaves symbolizing growth and change. Green leaves mean they're growing, Iris explained, like how Aunt Grace grew to be better. Bryce's hands trembled as he touched his leaf. And me? You're growing too. Mom says everyone deserves a chance to grow. He looked at me, this proud man now humbled. You taught her that? Even after what we tried to do? I taught her that family isn't about being perfect, I replied. It's about being better today than you were yesterday. Grace joined us, carrying Iris's trophy. The Environmental Board wants her to present at next month's conference. Would that be okay? I watched my daughter's face light up, saw the genuine pride in Grace's eyes, the regret and hope in Bryce's expression. Of course, I said. Family supports each other's achievements, right? Right, Iris hugged Grace impulsively. After a startled moment, Grace hugged her back. As we headed home, trophy in the back seat with Iris already planning her next presentation, I received a text from Grace. Thank you for not giving up on me, on us. I looked in the rearview mirror at my daughter, this amazing child who had taught us all about true family values, and replied, sometimes the best revenge is showing someone a better way to live. Because in the end, that's what family really means. Not the perfect image Grace once chased, but the messy, complicated, beautiful reality of people choosing to be better, together, one day at a time. And watching Iris fall asleep clutching her trophy, I knew that was the greatest victory of all.
The first thing I noticed when I walked through my front door was the silence. No video game sounds from Darnell's room, no pop music from Jennifer's, just the hollow echo of my footsteps and the faint sound of giggling. I'm Hannah, and I just spent 2 weeks in the hospital recovering from major surgery. All I wanted was to hug my kids and sleep in my own bed. Instead, I found my sister-in-law Tatum, perched on my living room couch like she owned the place, scrolling through her phone with a smirk on her face. Where are the kids? I asked, my stomach already nodding. Something felt wrong. Tatum looked up, her perfectly manicured fingers still tapping away at her screen. Oh, Hannah, you're home earlier than expected. How are you feeling? Where are my children, Tatum? She waved her hand dismissively. They're fine, safe and sound at Wellington Academy. It's the best boarding school in the state. The room started spinning. Boarding school? What are you talking about? Well, someone had to step up while you were indisposed, she said, emphasizing the last word, like my surgery had been an inconvenience to her. Clifford agreed it was for the best. Clifford, my voice cracked. My husband agreed to send our children away without even telling me. He knows I have their best interest at heart. Always have. She stood up, smoothing her designer dress. The local schools here are so inadequate. Wellington will give them the advantages they deserve. I grabbed my phone, hands shaking as I dialed Clifford's number. He answered on the third ring. Why didn't you tell me? I demanded, before he could even say hello. Hannah, honey, I was going to explain when you got home, he said, his voice maddeningly calm. Tatum found this amazing opportunity. Amazing opportunity. They're our children, Clifford, not some business deal. Keep your voice down, Tatum interrupted, placing her hand on my arm. I jerked away from her touch. The doctors said you need to avoid stress. Don't you dare pretend to care about my health, I spat. You waited until I was literally on an operating table to steal my children. Steal? Tatum laughed. That irritating giggle again. Don't be so dramatic. I've done you a favor. Now you can focus on your recovery without worrying about the kids. Clifford's voice came through the phone. Hannah, please. Tatum's right. You need to rest. I need my children, I shouted, tears streaming down my face. How far away is this school? When can I see them? Tatum's smile turned predatory. Wellington has a strict adjustment period. No parental contact for the first month. It helps them settle in. The room went silent, except for the sound of blood rushing in my ears. A month. They expected me to go a month without seeing my babies. Get out, I whispered. Excuse me? Tatum's eyes widened in mock offense. Get out of my house. She gathered her designer purse, shaking her head like I was being unreasonable. "I'll give you time to process this. You'll thank me later, Hannah. You always do." As soon as she left, I collapsed onto the couch, still clutching my phone. Clifford was saying something, but I couldn't focus on his words. My eyes landed on a family photo on the wall, Jennifer's 13th birthday, just 3 months ago. Darnell was making bunny ears behind his sister's head, and we were all laughing. My phone buzzed with a text from my friend Georgia. "Heard you're home. Want me to bring dinner over?" I typed back quickly, "Come now, please. Emergency." 20 minutes later, Georgia found me still on the couch, surrounded by printouts of Wellington Academy's website that I'd managed to find and print. "They took my kids," I said, my voice hollow. "Tatum convinced Clifford to send them away while I was under anesthesia." Georgia's face darkened. "That snake, she's been trying to control your family for years. But this is a new low." I looked up at my friend, something shifting inside me. The initial shock was wearing off, replaced by a cold, clear anger. "She thinks she's won, that I'm too weak right now to fight back. And are you?" I picked up the Wellington Academy brochure, noticing for the first time the list of board members and investors at the back. A familiar name caught my eye, and suddenly I remembered something important, something Tatum didn't know about. "No," I said, a plan already forming in my mind. "I'm not weak at all. And Tatum just made the biggest mistake of her life." "You own what?" Georgia nearly spilled her coffee across my kitchen table. 15% of Wellington Academy, I said, spreading out the investment documents I'd dug up from my home office, and 12% of their sister school, Thornfield Prep. It was part of my grandmother's estate. I never paid much attention because the quarterly reports always looked fine. Georgia leaned forward, her eyes scanning the papers. "Does Tatum know about this?" "No. The investments are under my maiden name." I took a sip of my own coffee, grimacing at the cold liquid. "But that's not all. Look at this." I pulled up my laptop, showing her the email I'd received from the school's financial director just minutes ago. "Apparently, there's a major stakeholder meeting next week. Something about policy changes and budget approvals." "Perfect timing," Georgia said, then hesitated. "But Hannah, are you sure you're strong enough for this? You just had surgery." "I'm stronger than Tatum thinks." I stood up, ignoring the slight pull of stitches. "Besides, I've got more motivation than she could ever imagine." My phone buzzed. Clifford again. I'd been avoiding his calls since yesterday. "You should talk to him," Georgia advised. "He needs to understand what his sister really is." I answered the phone, putting it on speaker. "Yes? Hannah, please." Clifford's voice cracked slightly. "Can we talk about this? I'm coming home early." "Good. There's something you need to see." 30 minutes later, Clifford walked in, looking tired and guilty. Before he could speak, I handed him a stack of papers. "What's this?" he asked. "Bank statements, family trust documents, emails." I watched his face as he started reading. "Your sister has been systematically isolating and manipulating this family for years." His brow furrowed. "What are you talking about? Remember when she convinced you to miss Jennifer's piano recital for that emergency business meeting? There was no meeting. Remember when she told us Darnell's baseball coach had concerns about his behavior? I called the coach yesterday. He never said anything of the sort." Clifford sank into a chair. "That doesn't mean—" "Keep reading," Georgia interrupted. "Show him the trust fund papers, Hannah." I pulled out the relevant documents. "She's been siphoning money from the children's trust funds to pay for this boarding school. Funds that, by the way, she shouldn't even have access to." "That's impossible," Clifford protested, but his voice wavered. "Tatum would never—" The doorbell rang. Georgia peeked through the window and groaned. "Speak of the devil." Tatum breezed in without waiting for an invitation, Knox trailing behind her. "Family meeting. I brought lunch." "Oh." She stopped short, seeing all of us gathered around the papers. "What's going on?" "Just reviewing some interesting financial documents," I said coolly. "Care to explain why your signature is on my children's trust fund withdrawals?" Tatum's smile didn't waver, but her eyes hardened. "As their aunt, and a financial advisor. I'm simply managing their assets responsibly. You mean stealing from them? Georgia muttered. Excuse me? Knox stepped forward. My wife doesn't steal. She's trying to help your children get the best education possible. I turned to him. Knox, when was the last time you checked your own accounts? Really check them? A flicker of uncertainty crossed his face. Tatum shot me a warning look. You're just upset because you're not in control right now, she said smoothly. The medication must be making you paranoid. Clifford, maybe we should consider. Consider what? I cut in. Having me declared incompetent? Is that your next move? The room went silent. Clifford looked between his sister and me, confusion and doubt warring on his face. I would never, Tatum gasped, but her hand tightened on her purse strap. I love this family. Everything I do is for this family. No, I said, standing up straight despite the pain in my abdomen. Everything you do is for yourself, but you made one crucial mistake, Tatum. Oh? Her lips curved in that condescending smile I'd grown to hate. And what's that? You sent my children to Wellington Academy without checking who owns it. I pulled out my investment portfolio. Would you like to know who has the power to change school policies, including their ridiculous no-contact rule? For the first time since I'd known her, Tatum's perfect mask cracked. She snatched the papers from my hands, her face paling as she read. This is, she started. Just the beginning, I finished for her. Now, would you like to tell everyone what you've really been up to, or should I? My phone lit up with an unknown number. Normally, I'd let it go to voicemail, but something made me answer. Mom, Jennifer's whispered voice made my heart skip. Jenny, baby, are you okay? I'm hiding in the bathroom. We're not supposed to have phones, but Sarah let me borrow hers. Her voice cracked. Mom, I hate it here. They took Darnell to a different campus. I haven't seen him in days. I gripped the phone tighter. They separated you. Tatum said it was better this way. Something about different programs, for different needs. Jennifer sniffled. Dad won't answer my emails. Are you sick? They told us you were too sick to take care of us. I'm fine, sweetheart. I'm coming to get you both, I promise. I checked my watch. I have a meeting with the school board tomorrow. Mrs. Harrison is really strict, Mom. She says we can't leave until... A sharp knock interrupted her. I have to go. The line went dead. I immediately called Georgia. They separated my children. Different campuses. That's not in any of the enrollment paperwork, she said. I've been going through everything you sent over. Meet me at the coffee shop near Wellington. I need to do some reconnaissance before tomorrow's board meeting. An hour later, Georgia and I sat at a corner table, watching the steady stream of Wellington Academy parents and staff members coming in for their morning coffee. That's Mrs. Harrison, Georgia whispered, nodding toward a stern-looking woman in a tailored suit. The headmistress Jennifer mentioned. I stood up, smoothing my blazer. Perfect timing. Mrs. Harrison. I approached her table. I'm Hannah, one of the school's investors. I was hoping we could chat. Her eyes narrowed slightly. I wasn't aware we had a meeting scheduled. We don't. But given tomorrow's board meeting, I thought it might be helpful to discuss some concerns privately first. I sat down without waiting for an invitation, particularly about the new split campus policy. Yes, Mrs. Phillips assured us the board was fully informed. Mrs. Phillips? I interrupted. Tatum Phillips. In what capacity does she speak for the board? Mrs. Harrison frowned. As the liaison for family enrollment and policy implementation, she's been quite insistent about certain changes. I see. I pulled out my phone, showing her my investment documentation. As a major stakeholder, I find it concerning that these decisions were made without proper board approval. The color drained from her face. I was led to believe, that is, Mrs. Phillips said. I'm sure she did. Tell me, how many other families have been affected by this split campus policy? 3, including the Bennett children. She swallowed hard. Mrs. Phillips said it was a pilot program. And the no-contact policy. That was also her recommendation. She said it was standard practice at elite institutions. My phone buzzed with a text from Georgia. Knox just walked in. I looked up to see Tatum's husband ordering coffee, his shoulders tense. He'd been unusually quiet during yesterday's confrontation. "Thank you for your time, Mrs. Harrison," I said, standing. "I look forward to discussing these policies further at tomorrow's meeting." I intercepted Knox at the counter. "We need to talk." "I have nothing to say to you," he muttered. But his hands shook as he reached for his coffee. "Really? Because I have plenty to say about the money Tatum's been moving through your joint accounts." He froze. "What are you talking about?" I led him to a quiet corner. $300,000, Knox. That's how much she's transferred from various family accounts in the past year alone. Did you really think those home renovation costs were legitimate? She said it was for the children's future. His voice was barely audible. "Private tutors, educational consultants. Check your accounts, really check them. And ask yourself why she needed to separate my children and cut off all contact with their parents." Knox's face crumpled. "She wouldn't. She couldn't. She did. And tomorrow, everyone's going to know exactly what she's been doing." I handed him a copy of the financial records. "The question is, are you going to keep enabling her, or are you going to help me protect these children?" He stared at the papers for a long moment. "The board meeting. What time?" 9 a.m. "Don't tell Tatum you're coming." As I walked back to Georgia's table, my phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. "Mom?" This time it was Darnell's voice, thick with tears. "Can you come get me, please?" "Soon, baby," I promised, my resolve strengthening. "Very soon. Just hold on one more day." I looked at Georgia, who was already gathering her things. "Time to finish this," she said. "Yes," I agreed. "Time to bring my children home." The Wellington Academy boardroom felt colder than it should have. I adjusted my blazer, trying to ignore the surgical pain, as I took my seat at the long mahogany table. Georgia squeezed my hand under the table. "You've got this," she whispered. Board members filed in one by one, their curious glances darting between me and the thick folders in front of each seat. Mrs. Harrison sat rigidly at the far end, her face pale. Knox slipped in just before 9, choosing a seat near the door. Then Tatum walked in, her usual confident smile faltering when she saw me. "What are you doing here?" she hissed, dropping her designer bag on the table. "Attending a board meeting, as is my right as a major stakeholder. You're not well enough to—" "Let's begin," announced Mr. Peterson, the board chairman. "First item, the recent policy changes regarding campus separation and parent communication restrictions." Tatum smoothly interrupted. "As I've explained in previous meetings, these changes are essential for—" "Actually," I stood up, ignoring the pull of stitches. "I'd like to address these policies first, specifically how they were implemented without proper board approval." "That's ridiculous," Tatum scoffed. "Everything was properly documented." "Was it?" I opened the folders in front of each board member, because these financial records show something very different. The room filled with the sound of rustling papers and sharp intakes of breath. Tatum's perfectly manicured nails drummed against the table. "Mrs. Harrison," I turned to the headmistress, "would you please share what you told me yesterday about Mrs. Phillips's role in these changes?" Mrs. Harrison cleared her throat. Mrs. Phillips presented herself as the board's official liaison. She insisted the policies had full approval, which they didn't, Mr. Peterson confirmed, frowning at the documents. "These signatures, they're not legitimate." "Of course they are." Tatum stood up, her voice rising. "Everything I've done is for the good of these children. Hannah is clearly unstable." "Is that why you forged my signature on these withdrawal forms?" Knox's quiet voice cut through her protests. He pulled out more papers from his briefcase. "I checked our accounts last night, Tatum. All of them." The color drained from Tatum's face. "Knox, darling, I can explain." "Explain what?" I pressed. "How you've been systematically isolating children from their families. How you've been embezzling from their trust funds." "That's a serious accusation," Mr. Peterson said gravely. "With serious evidence." I nodded to Georgia, who started passing out another set of documents: bank records, forged signatures, falsified board approvals, and statements from other families who've been similarly targeted. The boardroom door opened again. Clifford walked in, followed by 2 police officers. "No," Tatum whispered, her perfect facade cracking. "Clifford, you can't." "I already did," my husband said quietly. "I filed the police report this morning." "Officers," Mr. Peterson stood. "I believe we have some matters to discuss regarding fraudulent financial activities." Tatum's eyes darted around the room like a trapped animal. "You don't understand. Hannah was neglecting those children. Someone had to step in. By stealing from them," Knox's voice shook. "By separating siblings and cutting them off from their parents. I was protecting them." "No," I said firmly. "You were controlling them, like you've tried to control everyone around you. But it's over now." The officers stepped forward. "Mrs. Phillips, we need you to come with us." "This isn't happening." She laughed hysterically. "You'll regret this, Hannah. All of you will regret this." As the officers let her out, her threats echoing down the hallway, Mr. Peterson cleared his throat. "I believe we need to take an emergency vote on reversing these unauthorized policies." He looked around the room. "All in favor?" Every hand went up. Motion passed. "Mrs. Harrison, please make arrangements for the Bennett children to be reunited immediately." I sagged in relief, feeling Georgia's supportive arm around my shoulders. Clifford approached slowly, his eyes red-rimmed. "Hannah, I'm so sorry. I should have seen." "Later," I cut him off. "Right now, I need to get our children." Knox stood up, keys in hand. "I'll drive you. It's the least I can do." As we left the boardroom, Mr. Peterson called out, "Hannah, there's something else you should know. We found similar patterns at other schools, other families. This goes deeper than we thought." I turned back, steel in my voice. "Then we'll help them too. But first, I'm bringing my babies home." Georgia squeezed my hand one last time. "Go get them. I'll start making calls. Those other families deserve to know the truth too." Walking out of Wellington Academy, I felt stronger than I had in weeks. The surgery scar pulled with each step, but it didn't matter. I was finally going to see my children. And Tatum, she was about to learn that karma has perfect aim. "Mom," Jennifer's voice echoed across the Wellington Academy courtyard as she ran toward me, her uniform skirt flying behind her. I caught her in my arms, ignoring the sharp pain in my abdomen. "I knew you'd come," she sobbed into my shoulder. "I knew you weren't too sick." Knox shifted uncomfortably beside us. "I'll go get the car ready for Thornfield. That's where Darnell is." How could she do this? Jennifer pulled back, wiping her eyes. "Aunt Tatum told us you were in a mental hospital, that you couldn't take care of us anymore." My blood ran cold. "She what?" "She said we had to keep it a secret from everyone," Jennifer continued. "She made us write these weird letters, saying we wanted to stay here. Said if we didn't, they'd take us away from you forever." Clifford, who had been silent until now, made a choked sound. "Jenny, I'm so sorry. I should have questioned her more." "Dad," Jennifer's voice was small. "Why did you let her send us away?" Before he could answer, Mrs. Harrison approached, with Jennifer's belongings. "Everything's packed, and there's something else you should see." She handed me a file. Letters Tatum made all the separated children write. She was building a case for custodial interference. "Building a case?" Clifford took the file, his hands shaking. "Against who?" "Against me," I said, scanning the documents. "These letters paint me as an unfit mother. She was going to use them to take the kids permanently." Knox returned, car keys jingling nervously. "We should get to Thornfield before they break for lunch. Darnell's waiting." The drive to Thornfield Prep was tense. Jennifer sat pressed against me in the back seat, as if afraid I'd disappear. Clifford kept trying to catch my eye in the rearview mirror, but I focused on the passing scenery instead. Thornfield was smaller than Wellington, but just as imposing. Darnell was already waiting at the front steps with his duffel bag, his face lighting up when he saw us. Mom," he crashed into me with the force of a small tornado. "Did you get my message? I borrowed Tommy's phone and..." I got it, baby. I held him tight, breathing in the familiar scent of his shampoo. I'm here now. Mrs. Bennett, a tall man in a suit, approached. I'm Dr. Roberts, the headmaster. There are some concerning incidents we need to discuss regarding Darnell's behavior. What incidents? I asked, keeping my arm around my son. He's been resistant to our program, refusing to participate in mandatory counseling sessions about his family situation. Counseling sessions? Knox interrupted. What counseling sessions? Dr. Roberts consulted his tablet. Mrs. Phillips arranged them. She said the children needed help processing their mother's instability. The only unstable person here is Tatum, I said firmly, and she's currently in police custody for fraud and embezzlement. The headmaster's face paled. I had no idea. She seemed so concerned about the children's welfare. She was concerned about control, Knox said quietly. She's always been obsessed with controlling everyone around her. Jennifer tugged at my sleeve. Can we go home now, please? Yes, I said, gathering both my children close. We're going home. As we walked to the car, Dr. Roberts called out, there will be an investigation into all of this. Other families will need to be notified. I know, I replied, and we'll help them. But right now, my children need to be home. The drive back was filled with Darnell and Jennifer's chatter as they caught up on their forced separation. In the front seat, Clifford gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. Hannah, he started, I don't know how to make this right. Not now, I said quietly. We'll talk later. Knox cleared his throat. I should get to the police station. They'll need my statement about the financial records. Mom, Darnell asked from beside me. Is Aunt Tatum going to jail? Probably, I answered honestly. She hurt a lot of people. Good, Jennifer said fiercely. She deserves it. My phone buzzed with a text from Georgia. More families coming forward. 5 so far, all with similar stories. You started something big here. I looked at my children, safe beside me, then at Clifford's guilty profile in the driver's seat, and finally at Knox's devastated expression. Tatum's actions had rippled out, affecting so many lives, but now the truth was coming to light. When we get home, I said, we're ordering pizza and watching movies all day. No homework, no phones, no interruptions. Can we build a blanket fort? Darnell asked hopefully. The biggest one ever, I promised, holding them close. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying someone. Sometimes it's about rebuilding what they tried to break. 7 families, Georgia announced, spreading files across my dining room table, all with the same pattern. Tatum would target families during medical emergencies or personal crises, then swoop in as the caring relative. And the money? Knox asked from his corner of the table. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Siphoned through a network of fake educational consulting companies, Georgia replied. Your signature is on most of the paperwork, Knox. He put his head in his hands. I never read the documents she gave me. I just trusted her. The doorbell rang. Jennifer peeked out from the blanket fort in the living room, where she and Darnell were watching movies. Is that the police again? No, sweetie. It's probably the other families. I opened the door to find 3 couples standing there, looking uncertain. I'm Sarah's mom, one woman said. From Wellington, Georgia called us. Come in. I gestured them inside. We have a lot to discuss. As they settled around the table, their stories poured out. Each one was painfully familiar. Medical emergencies, family crises, Tatum, appearing with promises of help and solutions. She told us our daughter needed special counseling. Sarah's father said that the separation from her brother was therapeutic. She convinced my husband I was too depressed to make decisions about our sons. Another mother added tearfully, I only had postpartum anxiety, but she made it sound like I was dangerous. Knox stood up abruptly. I need to show you something. He pulled out his laptop, opening financial records. These are the real numbers, what she did with your money. The room fell silent as they looked at the screen. Hundreds of thousands of dollars moved through shell companies and fake educational programs. Why? Sarah's mother whispered. Why would she do this? Power, Clifford said from the doorway. I hadn't heard him come in. My sister. She's always needed to control everything, everyone. Dad, Darnell called out. Come see our fort. Clifford hesitated, looking at me. I nodded slightly, and he disappeared into the living room. The detective called, Georgia said, checking her phone. Tatum's being charged with multiple counts of fraud, embezzlement, and custodial interference. They're executing a search warrant on her home office right now. Knox's phone buzzed. His face went ash white as he read the message. They found more files, detailed plans for taking permanent custody of Jennifer and Darnell. She had fake psychological evaluations, forged court documents, everything. My stomach lurched. She was never going to let them come home. Mom? Jennifer appeared in the doorway, wrapped in a blanket. Is Aunt Tatum going to try to take us away again? No, baby. I held out my arms, and she came to me. She can't hurt us anymore. The police want statements from all the children, Georgia said gently. But they'll do it with child psychologists present. Make it as easy as possible. Sarah's father stood up. We should form a support group. For the families and the kids, they need to know they're not alone. I can help with that, Knox offered quietly. It's the least I can do, considering you were a victim too, I reminded him. She manipulated everyone. The doorbell rang again. This time it was the detective, holding a stack of papers. We found something else, she said, laying out documents. Evidence of similar schemes in 3 other states. Different names, same pattern. This goes back years. The other parents gathered around, recognizing names and dates. Stories of other families, other children, separated and manipulated. What do you need from us? I asked. Statements, testimony, evidence of financial fraud. The detective looked around the room. The more families that come forward, the stronger the case. We'll help, Sarah's mother said firmly. All of us will. From the living room, I heard Darnell laugh at something Clifford said. The sound of my son's happiness, so recently restored, strengthened my resolve. There's one more thing, Knox said. The school board meeting tomorrow. They're voting on new policies to prevent this from ever happening again. We'll be there, I promised, all of us. As the other families began sharing contact information and making plans, I watched Jennifer rejoin her brother in their blanket fort. Clifford caught my eye, his face full of remorse and hope. Hannah, he started. Later, I said. Right now, our children need us both. My phone buzzed with another text from the detective. Tatum's asking to make a deal. Says she has information about other cases. I looked at the families around my dining room table, all brought together by one woman's manipulation. Then at my children, safe in their fortress of blankets and pillows. Tell her no deal, I texted back. We're taking this all the way. Sometimes justice needs to be complete to truly heal the wounds left behind. The courthouse hallway buzzed with nervous energy. Families huddled together in small groups, children clutching their parents' hands. Georgia sat beside me, reviewing our testimony one last time. Are you ready? She asked. Before I could answer, the courtroom doors opened. Tatum walked in, escorted by officers, her designer outfit replaced by standard jail attire. Her eyes locked with mine, and for a moment, I saw something I'd never seen before: fear. All rise, the bailiff called. The preliminary hearing began with the prosecution laying out their case. Evidence mounted as family after family testified about Tatum's manipulation and fraud. She told me my wife was mentally unstable. One father testified, convinced me to sign papers I never read. By the time I realized what was happening, my children were already separated and enrolled in different schools. Knox took the stand next, his voice shaking. I trusted her completely. She handled all our finances, all our decisions. When she said these families needed help, I believed her. Tatum's lawyer tried to paint her as a concerned aunt and community member who maybe went too far trying to help. But then came the financial evidence. Bank records show systematic theft exceeding $2 million. The forensic accountant testified. Multiple shell companies, fake educational programs, and forged documents spanning 5 years and 3 states. When it was my turn to testify, I felt Tatum's eyes boring into me. "Mrs. Bennett," the prosecutor began, "please tell us about the day you returned from surgery." I described finding my children gone, the manipulation, the lies. As I spoke, Jennifer squeezed Darnell's hand in the gallery. "And what did you discover about Mrs. Phillips's long-term plans?" "She was building a case to take permanent custody of my children," I said clearly. "She had forged psychological evaluations, claiming I was an unfit mother." "Objection," Tatum's lawyer stood. "Speculation." "Overruled," the judge responded. "Continue." I held up the documents Knox had found. "These papers show she planned to file for emergency custody while I was still recovering from surgery. She forced my children to write letters, claiming they were afraid of me." "That's not true," Tatum suddenly shouted, jumping up. "I was protecting them. Hannah was weak, distracted. Those children needed structure, guidance." "Mrs. Phillips, control yourself," the judge warned. "You don't understand," Tatum continued, her perfect facade crumbling. "I did what no one else would do. Those families were falling apart. I fixed them. By stealing their money," Knox called from his seat. "By traumatizing children." "Order." The judge banged his gavel. "Mrs. Phillips, one more outburst, and you'll be removed." The prosecution presented their final piece of evidence, a recording from Jennifer's phone. Tatum's voice filled the courtroom. "Your mother's sick, Jenny, mentally sick. If you don't write this letter saying you're scared of her, they'll put you in foster care. Is that what you want?" Jennifer's small voice replied. "But I'm not scared of Mom." "You're lying." "Do it." Tatum's voice turned harsh. "Or you'll never see your brother again." The courtroom erupted in angry murmurs. Parents pulled their children closer. Tatum sat rigid in her chair, her face ashen. "Your Honor," the prosecutor stood. "Given the overwhelming evidence of fraud, emotional abuse, and attempted custodial interference, we ask that the defendant be held without bail pending trial." "Your Honor, my client," Tatum's lawyer started, "has shown a pattern of manipulation and control that makes her a threat to these families." The judge interrupted. "Bail denied. This case will proceed to trial." As officers led Tatum away, she turned to me one last time. "I was right about you, Hannah. You're weak. You always were." "No, Tatum," I replied, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I'm strong enough to protect my children from you. We all are." Outside the courthouse, the families gathered together. Sarah's mother organized a support group meeting for the following week. Knox promised to help track down more of Tatum's victims in other states. "Mom?" Jennifer tugged at my sleeve. "Can we go home now?" "Actually," Clifford stepped forward, "I was thinking maybe we could get ice cream first, as a family." The kids looked at me hopefully. Despite everything, they still wanted their father in their lives. "Ice cream sounds perfect," I said. As we walked to the car, Georgia caught my arm. The detective called. They found more evidence at Tatum's house. This could turn into a federal case. I watched my children climbing into the back seat, together and safe. Clifford held the door open, his eyes asking for forgiveness and a chance to rebuild. "Whatever happens next," I said, "we'll face it together, all of us." Sometimes the greatest victory isn't in destroying your enemy, but in rebuilding what they tried to break. And sometimes, family means giving second chances to those who deserve them. Guilty on all counts. The judge's words echoed through the packed courtroom. Tatum stood motionless as the sentences were read out. 15 years for fraud, additional time for custodial interference, consecutive sentences totaling 23 years. I felt Jennifer squeeze my hand as Tatum was led away. This time, she didn't look back. Outside the courthouse, Knox approached our family group. "The restitution papers are signed. Every family will get their money back, plus interest." "It's not about the money," Sarah's mother said, hugging her daughter close. It's about healing. Speaking of healing, Georgia called out, waving a stack of papers. The support group numbers are growing. 3 more families came forward this morning. Darnell tugged at my sleeve. Mom, can we show them now? I nodded, and he pulled out his tablet. We made something, all us kids together. The gathered families crowded around as Darnell pressed play. On screen, children appeared one by one, all those who had been separated and manipulated by Tatum. Each spoke directly to the camera. My name is Jennifer, and I am not afraid. I'm Darnell, and I know my mom loves me. I'm Sarah, and it wasn't my fault. One by one, they reclaimed their voices, their truth. Parents wiped away tears as their children's faces appeared, strong and resilient. It was Jenny's idea, Clifford said softly beside me. She said everyone needed to hear their own voice again. The video ended with all the children together, saying in unison, "We are not victims, we are survivors." This is going viral, Knox said, checking his phone. Other families are reaching out, not just about Tatum, about other cases, other manipulators. Then we'll help them too, I said. That's why we started the foundation. Georgia grinned. Speaking of which, the first grant applications are in. 5 families seeking legal help to fight similar cases. We'll review them tomorrow, Sarah's father said, after the celebration. Celebration? Darnell perked up. Ice cream, Jennifer announced. Dad rented out the whole shop. Everyone's invited. As families began moving toward their cars, Knox held back. Hannah, there's something else you should know. The federal investigation found evidence of Tatum's schemes going back to college. She did this to me first, isolated me from my family, controlled everything. Knox, I touched his arm gently. You're free now. We all are. At the ice cream shop, children darted between tables, sharing stories and swapping flavors. Parents who had once been strangers now sat together, planning support meetings and foundation events. Clifford brought me a bowl of mint chocolate chip. He still remembered my favorite. The house feels whole again, he said quietly. With all of us there, I know I don't deserve. Stop, I interrupted. We're not talking about deserve anymore. We're talking about choose. Every day we choose to heal, to trust again, to be better. Mom, Darnell called out. Sarah's dad says we can use their lake house for the next kids' retreat. Perfect, I smiled. As long as there's no lake swimming until you finish your lessons. I can teach them, Clifford offered, like I taught Jennifer. Our daughter appeared beside us, ice cream cone in hand. Really, Dad, you'll come to the retreat? If you want me to, he said carefully. Jennifer considered this, then nodded. Yeah, I do. My phone buzzed. Another message from the detective. 2 more states opening investigations. You started something big here. Looking around the ice cream shop, I saw what we'd really started. Healing. Children laughing together. Parents sharing resources and support. Families rebuilding. Knox was organizing a father's support group. Georgia was helping Sarah's mother design a website for the foundation. Even Mrs. Harrison from Wellington had come, bringing news that the school's new family protection policies were being adopted across the state. Mom? Jennifer and Darnell sandwiched me in a hug. Can we get another scoop? Sure, I laughed. But remember, we're having family game night later. With Dad? Darnell asked. I met Clifford's hopeful gaze. With Dad. As my children raced back to the ice cream counter, I thought about Tatum's last words to me about being weak. She never understood that real strength isn't about control. It's about love, healing, and the courage to rebuild. Ready to head home? Clifford asked. Home. Not just a place, but a feeling. A choice we make every day. Yes, I said. Let's go home. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting better. And sometimes the greatest victory is simply finding your way back to love.
The day I sold my grandmother's ring, a piece of my soul went with it. I watched the jeweler examine the delicate gold band through his loupe, his expression carefully neutral as he assessed the small diamond that had graced my grandmother's hand for over 50 years. I'm Lexi, and until last month, I thought I knew what family loyalty meant. Now I'm not so sure. 3,000, the jeweler said finally, setting down his tools. That's the best I can do. My throat tightened. The ring was worth more, much more, but I needed the money today. Mum's surgery was scheduled for tomorrow morning, and the hospital wanted the deposit immediately. I'll take it, I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. As I left the shop, my phone buzzed. It was my brother Aiden. Hey, sis, where are you? Mum's asking for you. Just running an errand, I said, clutching the envelope of cash. I'll be at the hospital in 20 minutes. Better hurry. She's in one of her moods. Says the pain is getting worse. I quickened my pace, my heel catching on a crack in the sidewalk. The memory of Gran giving me the ring flooded back, her wrinkled hands clasping mine, her eyes bright despite the cancer eating away at her. Promise me you'll keep it in the family, Lexi, she'd said. It's more than just a ring. It's our history. The hospital lobby was eerily quiet when I arrived. Mom lay in her bed, looking smaller than usual against the stark white sheets. Her best friend Cassandra sat beside her, scrolling through her phone. There you are, Mum's voice was weak. I was worried sick. I'm here now, I said, forcing a smile. And I have good news. I got the money for your deposit. Mum's eyes lit up. Oh, sweetheart, how did you manage that? Before I could answer, Aiden burst through the door, waving a piece of paper. Mom, you dropped this in the cafeteria, he said, handing her what looked like a receipt. What's Gucci? Mom snatched the paper from his hand, crumpling it quickly. Just some window shopping online. Helps distract me from the pain. Cassandra shot Mom a quick glance that I couldn't quite read. The important thing is, I interrupted, pulling out the envelope, we can proceed with the surgery tomorrow. My angel, Mom whispered, reaching for my hand. What would I do without you? That night I couldn't sleep. The empty space on my finger where Gran's ring used to sit felt like an accusation. I called my best friend Sophia, needing to hear a friendly voice. You did the right thing, she assured me. Your mom needs this surgery. Gran would understand. I know, I said, but something nagged at me. It's just, something feels off. Mom was so quick to grab that receipt from Aiden. She's probably embarrassed about online shopping while sick, Sophia reasoned. Try to get some sleep, okay? The next morning, I arrived early at the hospital. The halls were busy with the morning shift change, nurses hurrying past with charts and medication carts. I found Mum's room empty, her bed neatly made. Panic gripped me. Excuse me, I caught a passing nurse. My mother, Presley Roberts. Was she taken to surgery already? The nurse checked her tablet, frowning. I don't show any surgeries scheduled for a Presley Roberts today. There must be a mistake. She was supposed to have surgery this morning. We paid the deposit yesterday. Let me check with admitting, she said kindly. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Had to reschedule surgery. Doctor called. Going home to rest. Don't worry. Something cold settled in my stomach. I called the hospital's billing department, my hand shaking. I'm sorry, the clerk said, but we have no record of any deposit payment for Presley Roberts yesterday. Are you sure you have the right hospital? I sank into a nearby chair, the fluorescent light suddenly too bright. The envelope of cash, my grandmother's ring, the crumpled receipt, Mom's quick dismissal. It all swirled in my mind like pieces of a puzzle I wasn't ready to solve. My phone buzzed again. A text from Aiden. Found something weird in Mum's bag. Can you come over? I texted back immediately. On my way. As I drove to Mom's house, Gran's last words echoed in my head. It's more than just a ring. It's our history. What I didn't know then was that our family history was about to unravel in ways I never could have imagined. I found Aiden pacing in Mum's driveway, running his hands through his hair, a nervous habit he'd had since we were kids. You're not going to believe this, he said, leading me inside. Mum's not home. She went shopping with Cassandra. Shopping? The word felt like acid in my mouth. She's supposed to be resting after her cancelled surgery. In the kitchen, Aiden pulled out his phone. Listen to this. I recorded it because I knew you wouldn't believe me otherwise. He pressed play, and Mum's laughter filled the room. Not the weak, pained sound I'd heard at the hospital, but full and vibrant. That Hermes bag was totally worth it, Mum's voice rang out. You should have seen Lexi's face when I told her about needing the surgery deposit. She'd do anything for her sick mother. My knees buckled, and I grabbed the counter for support. Cassandra's voice came next. Girl, you're terrible. But that bag is gorgeous. Where are you hiding all these goodies anyway? In my bedroom closet, behind the old quilts. Lexi never goes in there. Aiden stopped the recording, his face pale. There's more, but I couldn't listen to the rest. I was already halfway up the stairs, taking them two at a time. In Mum's room, I yanked open her closet door and pushed aside the stack of quilts. Behind them, shopping bags lined the wall. Gucci, Hermes, Louis Vuitton. Oh my God, Sophia's voice came from behind me. I hadn't even heard her come in. Aiden called me. I got here as fast as I could. My hands trembled as I pulled out receipt after receipt. $3,000 for a bag, $2,000 for shoes, $4,000 for a watch. The ring money, I whispered. She used my grandmother's ring money for this. We need to document everything, Sophia said, pulling out her phone. Take pictures of all the receipts, the bags, everything. As she photographed the evidence, my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. Is this Lexi? An elderly woman's voice asked. This is Virginia Grant. I was your grandmother's best friend. Virginia? Yes, I remember you. Honey, I've been trying to work up the courage to call you. There's something you need to know about your mother. I put the phone on speaker so Aiden and Sophia could hear. Your grandmother suspected Presley was stealing from her before she died. Small amounts at first, then larger sums. She never confronted her because she couldn't bear the thought of her daughter being a thief. My free hand clenched into a fist. Why are you telling me this now? Because I saw Presley yesterday, shopping at the mall. She was wearing designer clothes and laughing about some surgery story. When I heard she was sick, I'd been praying for her, but just then we heard a car pull into the driveway. I have to go, I whispered into the phone. Thank you for telling me. We scrambled to replace the quilts just as the front door opened. Mom's voice drifted up the stairs, along with the rustle of shopping bags. Cassandra, you have to see what I got. This scarf is divine. Her voice trailed off as she reached the top of the stairs and saw us all in her bedroom. What are you doing in here? Her smile faltered slightly. I held up one of the receipts that had fallen to the floor. I don't know, Mom. Maybe you can explain why you're buying $1,000 scarves when you're supposed to be having surgery. Oh, sweetie, she laughed nervously. I can explain. The surgery was postponed, and I just needed a little retail therapy to lift my spirits. With my grandmother's ring money, my voice cracked. What ring money? Aiden asked, looking between us. Mom's face hardened. Lexi, you're making a scene. We can discuss this later. No, we're discussing it now, I said, pulling out my phone. Should I play the recording of you bragging to Cassandra about manipulating me? The color drained from her face. Behind her, Cassandra appeared, clutching shopping bags. I think I should go, Cassandra mumbled, backing away. Stay right there, I snapped. You're just as guilty, enabling her lies. Mom's expression shifted from shock to anger. How dare you go through my things? After everything I've done for you? Everything you've done? I laughed bitterly. You mean like making me sell Gran's ring for a fake surgery so you could buy designer bags? Aiden slumped against the wall, looking sick. Sophia put her arm around him. Get out, Mom hissed. All of you, get out of my house. As we left, I turned back one last time. This isn't over, Mom. Not by a long shot. I didn't know it then, but those words would set in motion a chain of events that would change our family forever. 3 days after discovering Mom's deception, I sat in a coffee shop staring at my phone. Dozens of missed calls from her lit up the screen, along with texts ranging from angry accusations to tearful apologies. Delete them all, Sophia said, sliding into the seat across from me. She's just trying to manipulate you again. I know, but... My phone buzzed with a new message, this time from a different number. Lexi, it's your father. We need to talk. I nearly dropped my phone. I hadn't heard from Dad in 5 years, not since he moved across the country after the divorce. It's Dad, I whispered to Sophia. He wants to meet. Your mum must have called him, she said. Are you going to respond? Before I could answer, Mum's latest text came through. I'm outside your apartment. Please talk to me. I can explain everything. She's stalking me now. I showed Sophia the message. Stay at my place tonight, Sophia offered. But first, text your dad back. Maybe he knows something we don't. I typed quickly. Starbucks on 5th Street, 30 minutes? His response was immediate. I'll be there. The next half hour was a blur of anxiety and coffee. When Dad walked in, he looked older than I remembered, his hair grayer, but his eyes were the same warm brown as mine. You look just like your grandmother, he said, sitting down. Why are you here, Dad? He sighed, pulling out his phone. Your mother called me yesterday, crying about how you're spreading lies about her. But then I got this email from Virginia Grant. He showed me the screen. It was a long email detailing how Mum had stolen from Gran, complete with bank statements and checks. I knew she had problems with money, Dad said, but I had no idea how deep it went. It's why we really divorced. She was taking loans in my name. My hands shook as I read the email. Why didn't you tell me? I was trying to protect you kids. I thought if I just left quietly, took the financial hit, she'd get help. Obviously, I was wrong. The bell above the door chimed, and Mom walked in. Her designer outfit looked garish under the fluorescent lights. Well, isn't this cozy, she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Turning my own husband against me now. Ex-husband, Dad corrected. Sit down, Presley. We need to talk about what you did to Lexi. What I did, Mom's voice rose. I'm sick. I needed help and my daughter chose to help me. That's what family does. Stop lying. I slammed my hand on the table, making other customers turn and stare. We have proof. The recording, the receipts, Virginia's evidence about Gran's money. Just stop. Mum's face crumpled. You don't understand. After your father left, I had nothing. No one cared about me. The shopping, it makes me feel better. So you used your own mother's death and your daughter's love to fund your addiction. Dad's voice was cold. That's low, even for you, Presley. You're all against me, Mum whispered, tears streaming down her face. My own family. Family doesn't exploit family, I said. Gran trusted you, I trusted you, and you betrayed us both. Mom's tears dried instantly. Fine. You want to play it this way? Go ahead. But remember, Lexi, I'm still your mother. I can make things very difficult for you. Is that a threat? Dad stood up. Because I still have evidence of those fraudulent loans. Want to see how difficult I can make things for you? Mom grabbed her designer purse and stormed out. Through the window, I watched her climb into her new Mercedes, probably bought with my grandmother's ring money. I'm so sorry, Lexi, Dad said. I should have warned you years ago. My phone buzzed again. A text from Aiden. Mum just called me crying. What's going on? It's never going to stop, is it? I asked Dad. She'll keep playing the victim, manipulating everyone. Dad squeezed my hand. Not if we don't let her. I have a friend who specializes in financial fraud cases. Want his number? I stared at my empty ring finger, thinking about Gran, about justice, about karma. An idea began to form. Not yet, I said slowly. I have a better idea. Mom likes designer things so much. Let's give her exactly what she wants. Dad raised an eyebrow. What are you planning? Something that will make her face her own lies, I said, pulling up a website on my phone. How much do you know about replica jewelry? As I showed Dad my plan, I felt a mix of guilt and satisfaction. Mum had taught me well about deception. Now it was time to use that lesson against her. Are you sure about this? Sophia asked, watching me scroll through replica ring listings on my laptop. Fighting deception with deception might not be the best move. I need to make her understand what it feels like, I said, clicking on a ring that looked eerily similar to Gran's. Besides, I'm not done investigating yet. My phone lit up with a message from Virginia. Found something interesting in your grandmother's old papers. Can you come over? 20 minutes later, I was sitting in Virginia's living room, surrounded by boxes of Gran's documents. The smell of Earl Grey tea filled the air. Look at this, Virginia said, pulling out a stack of credit card statements. Your mother was added as an authorized user on all your grandmother's accounts 3 months before she passed. I flipped through the statements, my stomach churning. The spending started right after that. There's more. Virginia handed me a folder. Cassandra's name is on some of these transactions. They were working together. Of course they were, I muttered. Where did they shop? Mostly at Hamilton's Jewelry on Main Street. I sat up straighter. That's where I sold Gran's ring. Virginia's eyes widened. You don't think... My phone rang. It was Dad. Lexi, I just got off the phone with my fraud investigator friend. You need to hear this. I put him on speaker. Cassandra works at Hamilton's Jewelry, Dad said. She's been there for 15 years. The pieces clicked into place. I grabbed my keys. I have to go. Lexi, wait, Virginia called after me, but I was already halfway to my car. Hamilton's Jewelry was quiet when I walked in. Behind the counter, Cassandra's face went pale. We're closing, she stammered. No, you're not. Not for another 2 hours. I approached the counter. Where's my grandmother's ring, Cassandra? I don't know what you're talking about. Really? Because I think you do. I think you and my mother planned this whole thing. You knew exactly what that ring was worth when I brought it in. Cassandra's hands shook as she straightened some displays. You sold it willingly. Under false pretenses, you lowballed me because Mom told you to, didn't you? Then what? Did you resell it for its real value and split the difference? Your mother needed help, Cassandra whispered. She said it was the only way. The bell above the door chimed. Mom walked in, freezing when she saw me. Well, she said, recovering quickly, isn't this interesting? Where's Gran's ring? I demanded. Sold, Mom said coldly, to a private collector, for $12,000. The room spun. 12,000? You told me it was worth 3. Business is business, darling. Mom smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Cassandra and I have quite the little operation going. Your grandmother's ring was just the latest acquisition. You're admitting to fraud. Proving it would be very difficult, Mom said, examining her manicured nails. Besides, who would believe you over your sick mother? I pulled out my phone, stopping the recording. Mom's smug expression faltered. You didn't. I did. And I'm sure the police would be very interested in hearing about your little operation with Cassandra. You wouldn't dare, Mom hissed. I'm your mother. No, I said quietly. A mother wouldn't do this to her child. A mother wouldn't steal from her own mother's deathbed. Cassandra started crying. Presley, we should tell her. Tell me what? Shut up, Cassandra, Mom snapped. The ring, Cassandra continued, ignoring Mom. It's in the safe. We never sold it. Presley wanted to keep it for herself. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Open the safe. Don't you dare, Mom yelled, but Cassandra was already moving toward the back room. My phone buzzed, a text from Dad. Police are on their way. Don't let them leave. Mom must have seen something in my expression because she grabbed her purse and headed for the door. I stepped in front of her. Move, Lexi. No. This ends now. Cassandra returned with a small velvet box. Inside was Gran's ring, exactly as I remembered it. I'm so sorry, Cassandra whispered. We never should have. The police arrived before she could finish. As they took statements and collected evidence, I held Gran's ring tightly, its familiar weight both a comfort and a reminder. Mom watched me from the back of the police car, her expression unreadable. For the first time, I didn't feel guilty about my plan for revenge. She needed to learn how it felt to be deceived by someone you trust. I slipped the ring into my pocket and pulled up the replica jewelry website again. Mum's birthday was coming up, and I had the perfect gift in mind. The replica just arrived, I told Sophia over the phone. It's perfect. Looks exactly like Gran's ring. Are you sure you want to go through with this? Sophia asked. Your mom's already facing fraud charges. Maybe that's punishment enough? I turned the fake ring over in my hand. After the incident at Hamilton's, Mom had managed to avoid jail time by agreeing to pay restitution and attend therapy for her shopping addiction. She was playing the reformed mother role perfectly now, hosting her birthday party next week as if nothing had happened. You didn't see her face when she got that plea deal, I said. She was smirking, Sophia. She thinks she got away with it. My doorbell rang. It was Aiden, looking troubled. I'll call you back, I told Sophia. Aiden paced my living room. Mom's been asking about you. She wants you at her birthday party. Says she's changed, that therapy is helping. And you believe her? I don't know what to believe anymore. He collapsed onto my couch. But she's our mom, Lex. Maybe we should give her another chance. I showed him the replica ring. That's exactly what I plan to do. What is that? A very expensive fake. I'm going to give it to her at her party. Tell her I bought back Gran's ring. Aiden's eyes widened. But you have the real one. Exactly. Let's see how honest she's really become. This is messed up, Lex. More messed up than what she did to us. Before he could answer, my phone buzzed with a text from Dad. Your mother just called. Says she's inviting me to her birthday party too. What's she playing at? Great, I muttered. She's gathering an audience. The next week flew by in a blur of preparation. I had the fake ring wrapped in the same vintage paper Gran used to use, complete with a handwritten note about family heritage and second chances. The morning of Mum's party, Sophia helped me get ready. You look like you're going to be sick, she said, watching me apply mascara with shaking hands. I feel like it. What if this backfires? Then we deal with it. But remember, you're not the bad guy here. When we arrived at Mum's house, it was already full of people. Cassandra was noticeably absent, but Dad stood awkwardly by the punch bowl, making small talk with relatives we hadn't seen in years. Lexi, Mom rushed over, pulling me into a hug I didn't return. I'm so glad you came. I've been telling everyone about my progress in therapy. That's great, Mom, I said, clutching my purse where both rings sat heavy against each other. Present time, someone called out, and everyone gathered in the living room. Mom opened gift after gift, exclaiming over each one with practiced enthusiasm. Finally, only my package remained. Save the best for last, she said, smiling at me. The room fell quiet as she unwrapped it. Her hands froze when she saw the ring box. Is this... she whispered. I tracked it down, I lied smoothly. The private collector was willing to sell it back, for family. Mum's eyes welled with tears as she slipped the replica onto her finger. It's exactly as I remember it. Your grandmother would be so proud. Dad caught my eye from across the room. He knew about my plan and had positioned himself near the door, ready for whatever happened next. Try it on, Presley, one of our aunts called out. Let us see. Mom held up her hand, the fake diamond catching the light. It's amazing how something so small can mean so much to a family. Isn't it? I said, my voice steady. Almost as amazing as having two of them. The room went silent as I pulled out the real ring. Mom's face drained of color. I don't understand. Don't you? I got the real one back from Hamilton's jewelry. This one, I pointed to her hand, is a very expensive fake. I wanted to see if you'd tell the truth about it. Lexi, would you have told everyone it was fake? Or would you have kept pretending, just like you pretended to be sick? Aiden stood up. I think we should all give them some privacy. As relatives filed out awkwardly, Mom stared at the ring on her finger. How dare you humiliate me like this? How dare I laughed. That's rich coming from you. I'm trying to change, she shouted. I'm in therapy. I'm making amends. No, Mom, you're still lying, still manipulating, and now everyone knows it. I placed the real ring on her coffee table. Happy birthday. The truth looks good on you. As I walked out, I heard her start to cry. Real tears this time, not the calculated ones I'd grown up with. But for the first time in my life, I didn't turn back. The fallout from Mum's birthday party spread through our family like wildfire. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from relatives taking sides. Some called me cruel, others praised me for exposing the truth. I ignored them all. A week later, Aidan showed up at my apartment, looking exhausted. "Mum's been drinking," he said, dropping onto my couch. "She won't take off the fake ring." "What?" She keeps staring at it, talking about how she deserves to suffer with the fake one. He ran his hands through his hair. "I think you broke her, Lex." Before I could respond, my phone rang. It was Dad. "Turn on the local news," he said without greeting. "Now." I grabbed the remote and my heart stopped. There was Mom, being interviewed outside her house, tears streaming down her face. "My own daughter set me up," she sobbed to the reporter. "After everything I've been through, the therapy, the restitution payments, she couldn't let me heal. She had to punish me publicly." "She's playing the victim again," I muttered. "It gets worse," Dad said. "Keep watching." The camera panned to show Cassandra standing beside Mom, looking appropriately contrite. "I enabled her addiction for years," Cassandra admitted, "but Presley's really trying to change. What Lexi did at the birthday party was cruel. She's becoming just like her mother used to be, manipulative, deceptive." I turned off the TV, my hands shaking. "She's turning this around on me." "That's not all," Aidan said, showing me his phone. "She started a social media campaign about toxic family relationships and public humiliation. It's going viral." My doorbell rang. It was Sophia, carrying wine and takeout. "I saw the news," she said. "Your mum's really outdone herself this time." We sat around my coffee table, picking at the food. My phone kept buzzing with notifications as Mum's story spread. "The comments are brutal," Aidan said, scrolling through his phone. "What kind of daughter humiliates her recovering mother? This is elder abuse. She's worse than her mum ever was." "They don't know the whole story," Sophia insisted. "Maybe I did go too far," I whispered. "Don't you dare." Dad's voice was sharp. "This is exactly what she wants. She's trying to make you doubt yourself." Another notification popped up. Mum was going live on social media. Against my better judgment, I clicked. "I just want my daughter back," Mum was saying, holding up her hand with the fake ring. "I wear this as a reminder of my failures as a mother. Every time I look at it, I think about how I hurt my family." The comments flooded in with hearts and supportive messages. "I can't watch this," I said, but Aidan grabbed my arm. "Wait, look at her hand." I squinted at the screen, the ring on Mum's finger. It wasn't the replica I'd given her. It was a completely different fake, probably even cheaper. "She's replaced the replica," I said. "Where's the one I gave her?" "Check online," Sophia suggested, already pulling up eBay on her laptop. There it was, my expensive replica, listed as authentic vintage diamond ring, with a starting bid of $5,000. The seller's username made my blood boil. Presley Vintage Treasures. "She's doing it again," I said. "She's literally running the same scam while crying about being a victim." Dad was already on the phone with his lawyer. Aidan looked sick. "I've got to stop this," I said, grabbing my keys. "What are you going to do?" Sophia called after me. "End it. For real this time." I drove to Mum's house, where she was still doing her live stream from her front porch. The camera was propped up on a chair, comments still flooding in. I walked straight into the frame. "Oh!" Mum jumped, quickly wiping her eyes. "Lexi, have you come to apologize?" "No," I said, pulling up the eBay listing on my phone. "I've come to ask about this." The color drained from her face as I turned my phone toward the camera, showing her followers the listing. "You're selling the fake ring I gave you?" I asked loudly. "The one you just showed everyone as your reminder of failure?" I can explain. And this isn't even the same fake ring you're wearing now. Where did that one come from? A dollar store?" The comments suddenly shifted. "Wait, what? Is she scamming again? Someone record this." Mum scrambled to end the live stream, but the damage was done. Her phone started ringing. Probably her lawyer or therapist. "You just couldn't let me have this, could you?" she hissed. "No, Mom. I couldn't let you scam more people while playing the victim. That's the difference between us." As I walked back to my car, I heard her call out, "I really am trying to change." This time, I didn't even bother responding. Some people never change. They just find new ways to hide their old tricks. The video of my confrontation with Mom went viral overnight. By morning, her social media accounts had vanished, and her phone was disconnected. She'd gone completely dark. "She's running," Dad said when I called him, just like she did after our divorce. I was about to respond when someone knocked on my door. Opening it, I found Virginia standing there, looking worried. "Your mother just tried to sell your grandmother's ring," she said without preamble. "The real one." "What? How? It's locked in my safe." "No, dear. She must have switched it when you weren't looking. The one in your safe is another fake." My hands trembled as I ran to check. Sure enough, the ring in my safe was a cheap imitation. I'd been so focused on my revenge that I hadn't even noticed. "Where is she trying to sell it?" I demanded. "Marcus & Sons auction house. The preview is today. The auction is tomorrow." I grabbed my keys, but Virginia caught my arm. "Wait. There's something else you should know. Your grandmother left a letter about that ring. I found it yesterday." She handed me an envelope, yellowed with age. Inside was a handwritten note. "Dearest Lexi, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and the ring has caused trouble. Your mother always wanted it, not for its meaning, but for its value. The ring isn't just jewelry, it's a test, one that your mother failed long ago, and one that you're facing now. Choose wisely. Love, Gran." "I don't understand," I said. "Don't you?" Virginia raised an eyebrow. "What matters more? Getting the ring back or stopping this cycle of deception?" My phone buzzed. A text from Aiden. "Mum's at Marcus & Sons. She's not alone. Cassandra's with her." At the auction house, I found Mom and Cassandra in deep conversation with an appraiser. The real ring sat on the counter between them. "Stop," I called out. The room fell silent. "Lexi," Mom said smoothly, "I'm just conducting business." "With stolen property?" "You can't prove it's stolen," Cassandra interjected. "You gave it away willingly." "Under false pretenses," I countered. "And I have proof now. The police are on their way." Mum's composure cracked. "You wouldn't dare. Not again." "Try me." She grabbed the ring and backed away. "This is mine. It should have been mine from the start. Mother always loved you more." "This isn't about love, Mum. It never was. It's about your greed." "Greed?" She laughed hysterically. "You have no idea what it's like to have nothing, to watch your perfect daughter inherit everything. I earned Gran's trust. You betrayed it." "Ladies," the appraiser interrupted, "I'm going to have to ask you to leave." "Not without the ring," I said. Mum clutched it tighter. "You want it so badly? Fine. Catch." She hurled the ring across the room. I lunged for it, but it hit the marble floor with a sickening crack. The diamond popped loose, skittering under a display case. "No," Mum screamed, dropping to her knees. "Do you know what that was worth?" I stared at the broken ring, Gran's words echoing in my mind. "Choose wisely." "Worth?" I said quietly. "That's all you ever saw, isn't it? The price tag. Never the love it represented." Police sirens wailed outside. Mum's face crumpled. "I just wanted—" she began. "What, Mum? What did you want?" "To matter," she whispered. "To be important like you were to her." For the first time, I saw my mother clearly. Not as the manipulator or the victim she pretended to be, but as someone broken. Someone who'd never understood that love couldn't be bought or sold. The police entered, but I held up my hand. "Wait." I picked up the broken ring and held it out to Mum. "Keep it. Sell it. Do whatever you want with it." "What?" She looked confused. "Gran was right. It was a test, and I choose to break this cycle." "I don't understand," she said, tears streaming down her face. "No, you don't, and that's the saddest part." As the police led Mom and Cassandra away, Aiden appeared beside me. "You okay?" he asked. I looked at the broken ring in my palm. Yeah, I think I finally am. What are you going to do with it? I closed my fingers around the pieces. Something Gran would approve of. Later that night, I placed the broken ring in a small box with Gran's letter. Some things weren't meant to be fixed. They were meant to teach us how to let go. The courthouse was quiet as I waited for Mum's sentencing hearing to begin. Dad sat beside me, while Aiden paced nervously near the window. You don't have to speak today, Dad reminded me. The prosecutor has enough evidence without your testimony. I clutched my small wooden box containing the broken ring. I need to do this. When they brought Mom in, she looked smaller somehow. Her designer clothes replaced by simple business attire. Her eyes locked onto the box in my hands. The judge called me to speak. I walked to the podium, my heels clicking against the marble floor. Your Honor, I began, opening the box. This broken ring represents 3 generations of women in my family. My grandmother, who valued love above all else. My mother, who only saw its monetary worth. And me. Mom shifted in her seat as I continued. I came here today not to ask for punishment, but to end something. This ring was meant to be a symbol of family legacy, but it became a symbol of greed and deception instead. I turned to face Mom directly. I'm donating the diamond to a jewelry program that teaches former addicts how to make honest livings. The gold will be melted down and sold to help pay back the people you've scammed. You can't, Mom burst out, then quickly composed herself. I mean, it's your grandmother's ring. Exactly. And this is exactly what she would have wanted, turning something broken into something helpful. The judge nodded approvingly. Ms. Roberts, do you have anything to say before I pronounce sentence? Mom stood slowly. I've had a lot of time to think in jail. Every night I dream about that ring hitting the floor, breaking apart, just like our family. She turned to face me. I was wrong, Lexi, about everything. The ring, the scams, the manipulation. I told myself I deserved nice things, that I was owed them. But the only thing I truly deserved was to lose my daughter's trust. The court sentences you to 18 months in prison, the judge announced, followed by 5 years of probation and mandatory therapy. You will also make full restitution to all victims. As they led Mum away, she stopped beside me. What you're doing with the ring, Mother would be proud. I know, I said simply. Outside the courthouse, Sophia was waiting with Virginia. How did it go? Sophia asked, hugging me. Better than expected, I said. Mom actually seemed genuine. People can surprise you, Virginia said, patting my hand. Sometimes it takes losing everything to see what really matters. Dad cleared his throat. Speaking of surprises, I have something for you. He pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was a simple silver locket. It was your grandmother's first piece of jewelry, he explained. Before the ring, before any of this. She gave it to me before she died, said to save it until the right moment. I opened the locket to find a tiny photo of Gran, holding me as a baby, both of us laughing. This, I said, wiping my eyes. This is worth more than any ring. There's something else, Aiden said, pulling out his phone. Remember that jewelry program you mentioned? I called them. They want to hire me as a business manager, help other families avoid what happened to ours. Really? I hugged him tight. That's perfect. Well, Dad said, since we're all sharing news, I'm moving back. Bought a house just outside the city. You're staying? I asked. Family shouldn't be scattered, he said. Even broken ones. Virginia squeezed my hand. Your grandmother used to say that broken things, when mended right, become stronger at the breaks. I touched the locket around my neck, thinking about Mom in prison, about Aiden's new job, about Dad coming home, about broken rings and new beginnings. Let's get lunch, Sophia suggested. I know a great place nearby. As we walked together, I realized something. The weight I'd been carrying, the anger, the need for revenge, the hurt. It was gone. In its place was something lighter, something that felt a lot like hope. You know what? I said, making everyone stop. I think I'm finally ready to visit Mom. Not today, but soon. Dad smiled. That's my girl. Just promise me one thing, Aiden said seriously. No more fake jewelry. We all laughed, the sound echoing off the courthouse steps. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's learning to let go, to rebuild, to find value in things that can't be bought or sold. I touched the locket again, imagining Gran's smile. Some legacies aren't meant to be worn on your finger, but carried in your heart.